Turn on lights. There we go. I got lights. Lights, camera, and also forgot pants. Yikes. Dragon Keeper, you could say that, or you could say that you're still getting Battle Pass rewards for 67. There's two ways to look at that. We're going to explain everything here tonight. You know, and honestly, I don't understand. Spectre was asking this earlier. Why doesn't Scopely just come out and explain something like this? I mean, I don't know. Seems like they probably should, you know. Because I don't think ultimately it's actually a bad thing. But, I don't know. They're silly. Silly gooses over there. Dragon Keeper says because they don't know. Well, maybe. That's certainly possible. I bet Hammy didn't know. But, I mean, somebody had to know. Because they wrote it. Lost In says, I believe it. I do too. All right. I'm going to go ahead and start, if that's okay. I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to press this little button right over here. And I'm going to press this button. And we're going to start the show. Yes, I'm awake. I didn't even sleep that late. I didn't even really sleep that late. I slept till like maybe 10:30 this morning. Yeah. Did not sleep a whole lot last night. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. How y'all doing? My name is Ultimate DJs. This is Talking Trek Live, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast. Welcome in, everybody. Appreciate you guys all being here. We've got to do a Talking Trek server sound off. And then I'm going to see how many of you guys are dragging because you shouldn't have gone to the club last night, but you did. We're gonna see. Let's kick it off in chat first. Raj on server 9. What's going on? Noon Whistle on 29. Thank you for being here. Captain Q on 57. Dr. Iron Chef on server 14. Jux on 187. What's going on? Papa Smurf on 61. And Dominus Prime on 53. Royal Power on server 36. Tequila Hawk on server 21. Noon Whistle 29. Thank you, Dr. Juby. On 60 and 61, Stradalorian on 9, Spectre on 11, Game Junior on 30, Tarpy on server 70, Check on 84, Jason Cash on server 13. Who made this music? Wait, what? Janet Jackson made the last one. Hey, what's up, Vic on server 40? Benny Hill's Ghost on server 42, Sherlock Holmes on 27, Sanguine Otter on 89. God, that looks so good. Now you're making me hungry. That's what I want. Dragon Keeper on 53. What's going on? Check on 84. Lost In on 55. Voltron on 49. Duranagon on 69. Donzino on 136. Cruzito on 13. Daverick on 21. Striker on server 49. Good evening to you. Candy White on 24. Balabom on 17. Captain Shaw said maybe on server 137. Voltron on server 72. Took me a second to figure that one out. Retrieving is still retrieving his server number. Broken Wolf on 99, Silver Tab on 40, as is Vic. Riggs on 131, Bender the Robot on 51, Django on 51, Rico on 55, Bel Air on the sexy server 70, Corellius on 13, Spock on 35. Riggs says it's already 2 o'clock in the morning. I apologize. See, it's actually only 9 o'clock where I am here today. Good evening, everybody. Welcome in, Commanders. Appreciate you guys all being here. My name is Ultimate DJs. Yeah, so it's 2 o'clock for you, so you're 5 hours ahead. Oh, so you're on, like, what is it called? Universal Central Time or whatever. What's that thing called? Is it CET, UST, GMT? I don't know what they're actually all called. Let me see. Oh, my God, I'm being rated. Oh, I was being rated. I fixed it now. I've got a shield up. Okay. Just had the notifications on my It's getting rated. I'm shocked by that. Yeah, UTC. That's what it is. Well, last night, Studio B took off, Tarpy. We were in Studio B last night for 6 hours. And I even started later than normal. I didn't start until 10 o'clock my time. So we were on until 4 a.m. Eastern time last night. Obviously, the audience dwindled throughout the night. I think if we're going to do something that long, then I definitely got to start earlier. All right, because by the time it was done, there was 35 or 40 people hanging out. And honestly, I felt bad for keeping you guys up past your bedtime. Bel Air says it was a really awesome stream last night. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. For those of you who are missing out on Studio B content, it is now available on replay. It is available in the Patreon app. So if you go to our Patreon page and change your subscription to the brand new Studio B All Access, then you'll actually be able to get those VODs, either audio, if you like audio, or video, if you prefer to watch that. What I didn't know, for those of you who are here, is that, because I don't get to hear it because I'm listening to the music on the turntables, right? So when I was watching it back today, I was still upset about the fact that the audio balance is still not quite right. I feel like the microphone was too hot and the music was not loud enough. Galeo says, hey, DJs, how are you? Amazing night last night, so thank you. Well, I had a good time last night too, Galeo. You want to do it again? Sorry, that's stupid. Just, you know what? Sounded like you were flirting with me, so I had to flirt back. Lost In said it sounded good on my end. Guru says, oh, you had to go there. Yeah, I did, obviously. I think it sounded good maybe live. I don't know. When I watched the playback, I was just like, I don't know. Yeah, Candy White says, I was surprised I had my headphones maxed. Wait, you agree that the balance was off a little bit? I feel like the balance was off just a little bit. So I'm going to have to tinker with it. I'm going to have to turn the microphone down a little bit. Because did you guys hear? This drives me nuts, all right? I hate this. When I was playing the music and then there was one or two spots, and if you listen, you could actually hear me. You could hear me breathe in the microphone because I'm fat. And I was dancing, so I was out of breath most of the night. So
you would pay a premium for that. That's ASMR right there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I didn't like it. I was like, oh, God, that's trashy. So, anywho, I'm glad you. Yeah, I thought it was creepy, Captain Taylor. Silvertap's like, yeah, I heard that. See, I heard it, but I didn't like it. So I'm gonna have to tweak it just a little bit on the next one. But we are only in our fourth stream, and it was only the second one that we've recorded. So we're still fleshing it all out. All right. Yeah, Tarpy says DJ was unbalanced. Say it ain't so. Broken Wolf says it saves us $4.99 a minute to listen to you breathe, and that's great. Just, you know what? Use it for your Patreon, all right? Use it for the Patreon. For the price of a battle pass, you too can have full access to Studio B replay audio and video. Yeah, it's only $20 on the month, and you get all of it, including all of the gold membership for in the Discord and all the gold benefits for the podcast as well. So there's all kinds of stuff. All right. Yeah, there you go, Jux. OnlyFans, DJs breathes for the cost of a BP. There you go. I'll just you guys are so weird. Get out of here with that. Appreciate you guys all being here. Ladies and gentlemen, Griffin. All right, I got a couple of messages for you. Griffin is still sick, and I am hoping that he recovers very well because we are visiting sick children very, very soon. So I need him to heal up and get over it. And I don't mean that harshly. I mean, I need him to go to bed early, wake up late, take multiple naps, and eat lots of soup. All right, because he needs to get good. Yeah, green guy can't catch a break because he's drinking. He's drinking too much recycled water. You're exactly right. Check. That's what's happened. All right, he's drinking tap water, and he's not used to it down there, and it's just pee. It's just pee. That's what he's drinking, and he doesn't know it. All right, so yeah, just pee water. All right. So, anyway, thoughts and prayers out to Green Griffin that he recovers and turns not so green. As a matter of fact, I did talk to him this week. It's not. I mean, it's not just flu. I told you guys last week that he was down with the flu, and it's more than that now. I think now it has escalated, and he's got pneumonia. Let me read his last message. Yeah, he's got pneumonia now. So. Just you guys know, so those of you who have been down that progression, it's real bad. It's not dysentery, all right. It's pneumonia. So please, oh no, it's not after dark. So anyway, please keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and for a speedy recovery and all that. Also, before I get to the stupid news, I also wanted to relay a message from Emperor Echo. Yeah, Jules, I actually got a phone call earlier today, and he wanted me to just reinforce to this community specifically how much he really appreciated you guys. I thought this was actually super, super nice. Now, I have seen him coming into the chat. I have seen you guys interacting with him in chat. We know, we have a history of knowing that things sometimes are challenging for them to catch, and QA doesn't always catch everything, right? I mean, we've talked about that. Sometimes it feels like QA doesn't exist. And what he told me earlier today was when he comes into this Discord at Event Reset, he greatly appreciates the fact that you guys communicate with him without skewering him. He mentioned to me today that he comes in and at event reset, and he says, I can count on your people incredibly well. He's like, I can count on them checking everything for me. Like, I will actually come into Discord and I'll say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, and this is what I'm trying to do. JB says he appreciates us doing the QA for them. Yes. Yes, JB, if I'm being blunt about it. And I might suggest that he knows that we're going to do better. Okay, I got to be careful on how I speak right here because he didn't say this. I'm saying we have said this a million times. We know that we do better than Scopely QA. All right, 100% of the time, we do better than what Scopely tests in their own game because we know how the game is played. All right, they don't, clearly, in a lot of cases, or they don't think about how things can score, or they don't think about how A relates to B, relates to C. All right, they just don't. So I'm going to read between the lines here and say the fact that he comes here and asks us questions to which he can rely on the answers for. And the fact, you're right, Jux, that he actually cares to come and ask those questions, that he cares to come over into the Discord and check with you guys. I think that's really, really good. All right. I think that is fantastic. Cruzito says, I'm nice. No, listen, I think I'm speaking with my buddy Echo, and he's doing something a little differently than a lot of the other ARC runners, and I think that it's a good thing. All right. He would probably, yeah, I see this here. We are a larger test group than QA. We're also probably nicer than official Discord. That's right, Tarpy. We don't mess with him that much, says Voltron. Not that much. All right. The feedback is useful to him as an event writer. Even Spectre, the eternal pessimist, says, I had some great conversations with Echo this week. And so he called me today to reiterate that fact and just asked me to relay to you his gratitude and thanks for him being able to come in here and rely on accurate data and timely data from you guys. And I just want to say that's a credit. That's a credit to you guys. All right. Cruzito says, I thought you were on the test team now. I don't get everything. I get some. Okay. I do get some. I don't get nearly enough. And I don't have time to do as much of that. Okay, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you. But, and you're right, Tarpy's right, playing on a test server is different than it being implemented on a live server, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to come out and say that I think it is incredibly humbling. All right, it should be incredibly humbling to you guys as an audience to know, yo, what's up, CDB? What you doing, man? Thank you for the raid. Welcome in. I see that, Spectre. What a stinky old raid there. That's CDB to you. Appreciate you guys coming in. Hope you guys had a wonderful stream and hung out for a little while. Dekix is in the chat. Holy smokes, a wild Dekix has appeared. What are you doing, buddy? Look at that. This arc bringing out all of the old cats here, Jules Verne. I just say, I just mean to say all that I thought that it was really, really nice. And honestly, a testament to you guys in this community, Jules, that Scopely or Echo, just Echo, let's just say Echo. Echo knows he can count on us. You know what I'm saying, Jules? And I think that is a remarkable thing. He knows it's a safe space. He knows that he comes here to ask questions, get feedback. For example, he joked with me. Jules. He was like, for example, I know now that you guys don't need ship parts as much as I thought you guys needed them. All right. I mean, he said, okay, won't be doing that one again. That's good, right? The fact that he can come and get measured feedback, professional and responsible and courteous feedback. All right. Uncommon ship parts. Is that what it was? Ship parts. He says, okay.
Yeah, we need to be more specific. Like the exact words that were in there were trash. Not that we didn't want ship parts.
We need the rare ones.
We just didn't want uncommon ship parts of a different rarity.
Gotcha. Yeah, he joked about that. He said, okay, that one, I'm going to go ahead and scratch that. I'm going to replace it with something else. So he laughed about that, all right? The fact is, thank you, community. This is what we've tried to build here, Jules. This embodies what I have always wanted for my community, and my content is a cooperative, professional, and courteous working relationship with them. And I think that it humbles me. I without getting weird about it, you guys honor me by making it possible for him to come here to you guys and have those kinds of conversations when I'm not here. It's an honor to host this community, and I'm really, really proud of you guys. All right, I just wanted to thank you for that. All right, sorry, don't mean to be emotional on you. It's just I appreciate it. Okay, Lost In says, don't we usually start at weird? Yeah, we do. JB says, wait, why are you being so nice to us? What did we do wrong? Nothing. That's just it. You guys, I was so honored to get that phone call, Jules. You know what I'm saying? Like it made me a proud papa for a minute that a staffer, no matter who it is. And by the way, he's not the only one. You guys know his identity, so it's a little different when we come out and talk about it. But you guys don't know the identities of all the others. I've had calls like that before. And the fact that I can come out here and tell you about one of them because it's Echo, it really does warm my heart. And I'm sorry for being email about it. I'm really, really proud of us, and I'm proud of you guys. And just thank you for upholding the spirit of cooperation and upholding the strength of community and unity that I strive for here in this community. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right. Lost In says, sleep-deprived DJ is nice. I'm not sleep-deprived. I got a good night's sleep. Well, I mean, partially. I got like 6.5 hours. And then I took a nap today while I was watching football. So, anywho, Matt Hatter says, Studio B knocked me out in under 30 minutes. Oh, dude, there's 5.5 hours more that you missed then. All right. Dragon Keeper says, I think DJ's at that drunk stage where he loves everything. Okay, fine. Maybe, Jules, maybe I should sit back and let you and Tarpy run the show because you guys have some data today, including, you know what, I forgot. We need to do stupid news, don't we? Oh, man.
Yeah, you got to embarrass yourself at least
Just
once today.
dropped my chew toy. Where'd it go?
You dropped your chew toy?
I dropped my chew toy. Oh, here it is. All right. Yeah.
What?
My
Is this the Lego thing?
yeah, my Lego separator. I chew on it. All right.
Oh.
5-second rule. That was probably longer than 5 seconds, but it's fine. Fisty says,
Did
what
you know
time?
there's colors?
Do I
It's
what?
proof positive he's a cat.
Right.
It doesn't squeak. No, it doesn't. Ladies and gentlemen, live from all across the world, it is time to check in with the Talking Trek News Studios. It is indeed time for your stupid news headlines.
Stupid news.
Looking for it. There we go. No, it's not a mouth guard. It's literally a Lego separator. It's like what you put in there to separate Legos. Like you pry it in there, and I just sit and I chew on it. I chew it because I shouldn't be doing it. Anyhow. Yeah, Wham says that was more like 20 seconds. Just wipe it off. It'll be fine. I'm just wiping it off. All right, let's see what we got today in the news. Police in a small South Carolina town. God, I recognize these headlines because of the jokes that I wrote for them earlier, and then I can't even get through the story because I know what's coming at the end. Police in a small South Carolina town are warning residents to keep their doors and windows locked after 43 monkeys escaped from a research facility. No, I am not making it up. This is a real story. 43 monkeys escaped from a research facility. Witnesses on the ground are reporting the situation as scary bananas. All right. Yeah, wait, why is that? Oh, wrong button. I was just, why is that so quiet? Okay. Scary banana. I know, Recursion says, you know what? That is not a joke, and it's not the first time. I know. All right. This one hits close to home for some of you guys out there. Natalie Portman is in the news and says that she is not surprised that her ex-husband, Benjamin Millipede, surely his name is not Millipede. Please tell me his name is not Millipede. Is his name Millipede? Is that actually his name? After like the worm with 1,000 legs? Her ex-husband, Benjamin Millipede, has moved on only 7 months after their divorce. It might not seem like a lot of time, but it does kind of make sense because he's just like every other divorced guy now. He's happy. Yeah. This is one of the more... I know. This is one of the more disappointing things in Natalie's life, somehow even more disappointing than her Star Wars prequels. Wait, it's pronounced Milpy? Milpy? M-I-L-P-Y? Milpy? That is not how it's spelled. I mean, how are we supposed to understand words when you sound them out? And Milpy? It's ridiculous. A South Carolina woman... Lots of South Carolina news today. Yeah, I know words aren't real, bro. South Carolina woman woke up overnight and went to her apartment's bathroom where she was met by a large snake hiding behind the toilet. Real story. She said that the snake scared the crap out of her, which is what she was there to do. So all's well that ends well. All right. Yeah. Firefighters and animal services personnel teamed up in California to rescue a miracle horse that survived a fall down a well without any serious injuries. But this horse lives in California, so odds are he's not really happy that he survived. There you go. All right. All's well that ends in a well. Oh my God. Yes! Very nice, Otter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I'm going to pass it over to Ultimate DJs over at the Sports Desk. DJs? Hi. historical war epic called The Patriot is now streaming for free on Tubi, but some say it's the crappiest Patriot on TV since this year's New England football team. Yeah. I got more. No, Bubba's not here for this one. I just decided to butcher it on my own. Aurora Culpo gushed about her sister, Olivia Culpo, and Christian McCaffrey's new $14.5 million Los Angeles home that they purchased from George Clooney. That's right. $14.5 million. Christian McCaffrey, for those of you who don't know, is a star NFL running back. But his job is currently in jeopardy due to a series of Achilles tendon injuries. And George Clooney knows all about terrible things that almost destroy your career because he did, in fact, make Batman and Robin. Yes. Let's see. Finally. What else we got? Yeah. This was big today. Philadelphia Eagles legends LaShawn McCoy and Deshaun Jackson spoke to news outlets this week and roasted the Cowboys amid their preseason struggles, or midseason struggles, that is. But it was entirely unnecessary because nobody rips the Cowboys more than their own players. What I mean by that is quarterback Dak Prescott was caught on the sideline saying, "We suck," during their loss to the Falcons. Their actions on the field have been so offensive that real Cowboys fans are now rooting for the Jets. Ha-ha! Ladies and gentlemen, and that's your stupid news. By the way, they also got massacred by the Eagles today. That didn't make it in the joke, but, I mean, it was really bad. I mean, embarrassingly bad. They just got the poop knocked out of them, okay? I mean, smack around, smack your grandma. Your grandma could have tackled better than the Cowboys today. Is there anything else you guys want to do any more out there? All right. They looked worse today. They looked like the worst team in the NFL today.
Except for the Bears.
Except for the Bears, who also got mauled by the Patriots, who also suck. It was weird. All right. Yes, the Jets suck too, but I mean, it was just weird today. Some of the games that everything was a runaway today. There was no close games. Football was extremely boring today because people just kept running. 5 turnovers from the Cowboys offense. 5 turnovers. Is that unbelievable? It's crazy.
Us Bears have the longest active streak of not scoring a touchdown in the NFL right now.
Well, congratulations. I'm so proud of you guys. Oh, it's weird. It was a weird week in sports. Weird week in sports. Tip says that's 2 less than if Dak wasn't hurt. Oh, that's good. Loston says, with every turnover, I just had to sit there and wonder, what about Lorca? Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you. The community is running away with it today. All right. Very nice. Good evening, everybody. I know. Terrible Cowboys jokes. You can't help it. They're just so bad, man. God, must not have watched the Chiefs game. The Chiefs, wasn't that a close game? The Chiefs actually shouldn't have won, but they did, so they're undefeated. But at least that was a close game. All right, at least that was a close game, Budget Gunner, but they did still end up winning. Vic says, hey, we're getting taxed. Talk about that. All right, we'll talk about the tax. Voltron says, maybe the Cowboys should talk more about Lorca. Yeah, I know, got it. Yeah.
Someone's got him.
Oh, that's good. We just keep going with it. Just keep going. All right. Scalyback says, wait, what tax? Oh, my gosh, Scaly. The choice tax that everybody's been talking about literally for 5 days now. Tarpey is on the stage. Good evening to you. Welcome in as the mistress of the tax is what we're going to call her. And she was the one who. Okay. You're awful quiet. Hold on, let me turn you up a little bit. You want to count to 5 for me? Count to 5.
No.
What?
Not really.
Okay, that's better. Okay, I don't know what you were doing a second ago, but you sounded like you were meowing. But now you sound good. Yes, Tarpey, the mistress of the tax. Hashtag Tarpey's got receipts. Tarpey has been investigating this from the very, very beginning. Now, She doesn't want to be mistress of the tax. I don't know why. It's a great title. Okay. Let's talk.
not.
What, mistress of the tax? Come
Yeah,
on.
that's a horrible title.
No one's gonna mess with you though.
Yeah, listen.
I know.
It's good stuff. All right, listen. I want to let me start by pulling up the spreadsheet that you made, because there's a lot of stuff here. What I want to do, Tarpey and I have spent a lot of time talking about this week. As a matter of fact, Tarpey, I think probably on at least one occasion became so incensed with me that she had to actually go take a break to woo-saw herself. All right, because what I'm going to say to start with is that we fundamentally agree on the math. I mean, the math, because math don't lie, right, Tarpey? I mean, the math is there. I think our biggest source of disagreement comes on the pros and cons as a result of this conscious decision by Scopely. And I do refer to it as a conscious decision because somebody wrote this thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody knows the full ins and outs of it. I'm not suggesting that even Hammy knew about this. I haven't had a chance to talk to Hammy this week, and we're going to talk to him about it next week. But Tarpey, you found some crazy interesting results, and I want to fundamentally point out right up front that I agree with all of her data. I accept it as fact. I don't know if Jules has looked over it. I accept it. What I think is the biggest source of ire in the community right now is why, and whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? So, Tarpey, let's talk about the math first, because there's no disagreement there. The math is the math. Yeah. Pull up, let's find the spreadsheet. Where is that? Crap, I lost it. Did you send it to me in DM? You did, right?
I did a while back, but
okay.
If you go to the Google Doc, it's actually somewhere at the bottom or somewhere in the middle.
Here we go. Okay, got it. Pulling it up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this link into the graphics room, right, Tarpey? They can have this, right? It's a view only. You have it as a view only? Okay. Mm-hmm. We're going to put this in the graphics room for you guys to follow along and take a look at all the data. And all the data that we found here. So let's switch over and take a look. And I am going to do my best for the podcast audience to explain everything that we are looking at here in detail, because there is pages and pages and pages of math. And before we get started, Tarpey, I want to shout out your Mister of the tax. What do you call the opposite of the mistress of the tax? Muffins, who helped with the data collection here. I mean, it was the two of you guys really breaking down this alleged tax. All right. And I think that you could, I don't even want to say alleged. There is some things here, but I think that the intention behind going into it probably didn't end up being a tax. It was funny that Spectre and I were talking about this earlier. It was almost as though Scopely wanted to refer to it as a premium instead of actually saying what had actually happened. And I'm not entirely sure I get that logic, but we're going to let you draw your own conclusions. Stepping over onto the screen, Tarpey, let's start with wherever you want to start. Walk the community through your research.
Oh boy. Okay, so if you can go over actually to the one that says data, I think it's in the tabs at the bottom, and it will be to the right of that one.
There's another data tab?
No, data, varied ops, S2, like literally if you look at the bottom of the page.
Yep, I'm there.
Data,
and actually,
varied ops,
if this actually helps you, Tarpey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen in the Discord so you get a live look instead of having to wait on Twitch. How's that? Okay. I'll do that now. And I just pop that in on the Discord so you can take a look and you can direct me in real time. Okay. So if you'll just pop that open, take a quick peek there.
We are on how to do that.
We are on data, varied ops, and we're labeling these two arcs S2, Symbiosis 2, all right, which was the last battle pass that we had with resource and materials. And now QC1, which is Q's Continuum 1. Okay? So that would be Symbiosis Part 2, Q's Continuum Part 1. The allegation, Tarpey, is that players are getting less resource and material this month than they got last month. And the allegation is because Scopely has offered these tokens and is basically charging us what we're calling a choice tax. Is that the basis of this investigation?
Yep. And I just want to frame again that I always start with my ops. So I originally always do these things just for myself, and then I will work for other ops too, and show comparisons. So we don't need to go into too much of the data here, but what I want to talk about is you'll see multiple columns for things. So 61S, 61B, that's the two different polls for each ops. You'll see that I go from 61, or depending, 50 to 52 to 60 to 70. I didn't manage to get anybody with the nice ops of 69.
Because nobody stays there. It's like a 13-minute
exactly.
ops. Yeah, that one doesn't even count. It doesn't even count.
Okay. So going further to the right, you can also see where I got some more of the data. That's the total of everybody's battle pass from Symbiosis 2, but there's also the free-to-play track just to the right of that, and then the paid track. So the top track is the blue, the bottom track is the yellow, the total track is the green. So that was the numbers in those columns are going to be what everybody got last month, at least in G6, and you can see the ops bracketing in buckets of 2 for each of those different battle passes. So if you then look, DJs, go down to the bottom tabs and go to 60, I think, for right now. So the way that I broke out a lot of this was trying to just do a bunch of different manipulations of all these numbers, where you can see at the far left, it's the small bucket versus the big bucket. And you can see that it's parsteel, every type of mat that any of these different ops that we were looking at would get. So the whole thing about this is choice, right? You get to choose where you put all your tokens. And that's fantastic. I love that, because if you need a lot more gas, you can get more gas. I mean, I somehow have 20,000 G5 ore and crystal and no gas, and I'm in G6. So I'm going to get a lot of gas. That doesn't sound right. So, but what I did...
Okay.
Oh, you were holding back the gas. Okay, didn't need to know that either. So, what I did to try and check some of this math and really compare things, because you have to come up with a basis of comparison if you're trying to compare two things. So what I did was and scroll a little bit further to the right so they can see where I'm kind of getting this idea, and scroll a little bit down. There you go. So what I did was I divided the battle pass milestones that we have, the amount of the chalices in each milestone, and you can see from the coloring that I did here, based on whether it's ore usually, or crystal, or gas, I then attributed the amount of chalices in each of those milestones to how many, to what that would be if it was a normal battle pass. So you can see that it goes ore is first and ore is always last, or parcial, whatever you want to label it as. And those, I added those together. You can see the splits below in the CRBP split.
And for those in the listening audience, let me indicate what we're looking at here. And what she is describing is the allocation of this month's choice tokens as it would have been last month for gas, ore, and crystal. So, for example, in milestone number 1, that is typically a parsteel and ore milestone. Milestone number 3, for example, is typically a trite and crystal. No, dill and gas. Can't read the colors.
Mhm.
I'm colorblind. And then milestone number 5, traditionally a titanium and crystal. So what we're looking at here is if you take a look, for example, at milestone number 1, in the combined tracks, you've got 20 in the free track, 30 in the paid track. That would be a total of 50 chalices. And for the purposes of this comparison, we have then attributed those 50 chalices towards Parsteel. Now, the first acknowledgement that we're going to make is there's not a 100% perfect way to compare this because you have the element of choice. However, we agree that this is the basis of a normal battle pass. So to start with, we're going to allocate these tokens this way, okay? And I'll explain why I make that comment a little bit later, because in some cases, there could be a way to redistribute these slightly to minimize your losses. But the fact is there remains a loss. And that's this tax that we've been talking about. So, for example, if we take a look at the entire month, Tarpy, and you allocate all 10 of these milestones, because there's only 10 that award resource and material, from the free track, you would have amassed 890 free tokens for Parsteel and ore, or a total of 2,330 if you had the paid track. For dilithium and gas, you would have 470 in the free track, or 1,230 in the combined track. And then for titanium and crystal, you would have 720 chalices, or 1,870 in the combined tracks. Okay, so those are how many total tokens that you would have in a perfectly delineated breakdown based on previous battle passes. All right, so that basically means you go in, Tarpy, you look at your event store, and you've got the small bundle, which is the 10 pull, and you got the big bundle, which is the 100 pull. Scopely came out at the beginning of the month and said plainly that there is extra resource and material if you pull the big, well, they said extra reward if you paid the big one. That was in our video at the very beginning of the month, Tarpy, that there was extra goodies in there if you did the big pulls. Now, what we ended up finding, Tarpy, is that it's not necessarily extra goodies, is it?
It's just rounding.
That's right. It's not necessarily an extra goodie, but what you're finding is the tokens that exist there. Because if you look at 10, which is 10 as compared to 100, 10% as compared to the full reward, which would be 100%, the way that they've put the tokens in there, they don't have tokens of a 10% nature, for example. At least not in G6. Now, they do in some of the smaller ops, which is also going to explain our results for G4 and G5, where there really wasn't a problem, like anywhere. This specifically came into play in G6. Go ahead, Tarpy.
I was going to say the other place where a lot of the rounding came in, where they say that you get more stuff, is how they actually calculate their mats as well. So you can't get a fraction of a mat. You can get you can't get 73.45 4-star, 6-star ore. I'm looking at the small versus the big pull for 6-star common ore. And so when you multiply that by 100, you can get 739 or 734 point something, which then rounds up to 735. So that's where they're also talking about getting extra stuff. It's rounding.
When we say extra, we're talking one mat. Like one.
Yeah.
All right. So
purple.
And as Kelbound points out, for my ops at 53, I don't know that I'm seeing what you guys are talking about. And you're exactly right. That's what we just said. G4 and G5 are largely unaffected for this. The summary reason that I think we've got a problem here in G6 is actually
the resources only.
Well, yeah, because they reset everything. The G6 economy has been reset down to Sigma, where the quantities are a factor of thousands less than what
Right.
they would be in traditional resources and materials.
But you can also find that variance in different ops that have different amounts of rewards because the rewards do scale for various things at different ops.
You got it.
So that G5 sees it less, and I just want to make sure it's really, really clear. The mats, when I compared them this way, were within 1 to 5% for pretty much everything, for every ops that I looked at. So there's comparatively no variance from last month to this month when it comes to ops. Now, if we're talking the difference of 100, we're talking the difference of 100 over the entire battle pass. And that is 1%. So that amount of difference in a G5 or G4 material is very different than 20% different in Sigma resources in G6. And I also would like to point out that G4 and G5, as far as I can tell, got a 50 to 70% raise in regular, generationally relevant resources.
Woo woo, G4,
So
G5.
Yeah.
Yeah, G4,
Right?
G5. There you go, G4, G5. As a matter of fact, it is no real surprise at all. They've done everything that they can to speed up the earlier generational battle passes, events, progression, all of it. They have come through and said, listen, we are trying to catch you up. As a matter of fact, it comes as no surprise at all. They've openly said it, that we are trying to speed up the early player experience to get them to a point where they are not programming a game for 5 or 6 different generations, but maybe 3 generations. Okay? So up until this point, everything is hunky-dory. Okay?
Yep.
Everything is hunky-dory. All right, let's continue.
So if we're still looking at 61, you can see, so there's the pink column at the top that's based on free to play. So if you only have the top track of the whole battle pass, this is what the difference in resources and mats would look like for you. Again, I pretty much only did G6 because that's where the discrepancy in the resources was really apparent. Just continuing to remind, G4 and G5 don't have this problem. This is specifically a G6 thing. And so the orangish column to the right of that is if you had the top and the bottom track added together and based on regular battle pass milestones. And the green stuff is the imported value from last month. And then the last 2 columns are comparisons, where if the percentage in the right-hand column, in the most right-hand column, is red, so that is the percent difference between what you would have gotten in the Symbiosis arc versus what you are probably getting if you pull those mats and those resources in those proportions in this battle pass. So if it is red, you get that much less in the QC1, so in Q's Continuum. And if it is black and you're at that ops, you get that much relative more of that particular thing. So, and this goes for all the percentages I think that I did. If it's black, you get more. If it's red, you get less. Kind of like looking at a bank balance. If it's red, it's bad. If it's black, you're fine. Hopefully that's everyone's experience. But, so there are a few places where we do see some bigger fluctuations in mats. I don't know where that comes from. That's not what I was looking at here. But what you can see for Op 61 is that at all 3 of the Sigma resources columns, or rows in the Sigma resources, that Op 61 is down 20 to 30% with this distribution of rewards based on what was in last month.
And let's be specific, not 20 to 30% of all of them. For example, what we're looking at right here, in your allocation of steel for example,
Yep.
steel washes out. You're down 21.7% in raw, but you
Yep.
gained the 21.7% in tokens. So perfect. I mean, the steel washes out. If you
That
come
worked
down,
fine.
if you
Yeah.
come down and take a look at the tritanium, for example, tritanium is with this allocation down 20,000 raw trite and down 40,000 token trite for a net loss of 60,000 sigma trite over the course of a month. Now, that's not small. 60,000 sigma trite. Okay? Definitely not small. And by the way, I do want to keep in mind what we're looking at here is Ops 61. Okay, because that's going to matter here in a moment. Real quick, thank you, Aiden Games, for the resub. Lax Racer, thank you so very much for the resub. Appreciate that. Wild Star for the resub. Crash Override, thank you guys so very much. I appreciate you guys. You guys are incredible. And thank you, Canine Tooth with the big old stream streak. Thank you. All right. Now, Ops 61, down 60,000 sigma trite. And if we come down here and take a look at Dill, we are down 3,700 raw sigma dill, or not raw, but loose. We'll call it loose. All right, down 3,700 loose sigma dill, but up 1,000 token sigma dill. So you're actually still down 2,760 sigma dill. Again, that doesn't sound like a lot, except it is.
It's a lot.
Tarpy, you said that in a singular event, you might pull, as an Ops 61, you might pull how many dill in an event?
Now you're going to make me go look, aren't you?
Well, you told me earlier the answer was 4. You literally...
Oh, no, that was something else.
Oh, okay.
That was, so the amount of Sigma Dill that I get in those daily resources things that they give us as the Oops tokens, or you can buy at the beginning of a month. It's literally 2 Sigma Dill
in a loyalty chest. So yeah, in the daily elite chest, we're talking 2 Sigma Dill in one of those chests. All right, 2.
Yep. Yeah,
which means you get 300 tokens. All right, which is 30 pulls, which basically means if she pulled all of those tokens for an entire month, she's getting 60 Sigma Dill.
What a savings.
By Grabthar's hammer. Now, do keep in mind, this is 61. Okay? Still
so
61.
In the tickets, I get 2,600 Sigma Dill if I do all 4 milestones in one ticket.
2,600?
Yes.
Okay. So one ticketed event could make up for it. But, again, not looking at substitution paths. The bottom line is, Battle Pass is down.
Right.
All right, the Battle Pass is down in Sigma. Now, Matters jokingly points out in the chat, but they made it up with traditional. Doesn't that count? Get out of here with that business.
No, they didn't. Not in every ops, they didn't.
Not in every ops, but for yours they did. You got an extra 82 billion raw.
Oh gosh, what a deal!
Yeah,
that's
again,
2 researches.
Now, I want to be real clear about this. This again is all based on 61. I can't say it enough. You guys, there's a reason that I'm going to keep popping back in and saying this at 61. So let's do the exact same thing. Let's do the exact same thing at 65. And by the way, there's a method to my madness. All right. Let's do the same thing at 65. At 65, Tarpy, for Steel, and this is based on the Battle Pass, free and trade, Steel is down 43,000 raw. It's up 41,000 steel. Okay, that is marginal, not too fussy. You're literally down 2,000 Sigma steel. All right, that's not a whole lot, but it is still a down. All right, looking at Sigma Trite, you're down 31,000 raw and 10,000 and 100,000 token. So you're down 130,000 Sigma Trite. And then in Dill, you are down 5,500. Okay? So that is kind of substantial. Now, this is 65, for example. Tarpy, let's take a look at, say, 64, shall we?
Sure. 64 is nice.
64 looks good. As a matter of fact, if we take a look here, 64, you're up 40,000 in Sigma Steel. You're down 9,000. No, down 90,000. So you're down 50,000 in steel. Okay. Over here on Trite, you're actually down about 75,000. But in Dill, you're up 7,500. All right. Now, that's right, Retrieving. You can nullify the income, nullify the effectiveness, efficiency, either way, blah, blah, blah. You're all down. All right. This is all down. And to answer the question from Ultravetica, you can't necessarily count in the efficiencies. If you do, then it's not a real efficiency, right? Because efficiencies are meant to make things cheaper, but if you artificially inflate the value of those things by releasing fewer of them, then you're nullifying your own efficiency, okay? Can't really do that. However, we have identified this all the way through G6, okay? Now, the next question comes into why, and this is what we were trying to talk about the other day, Tarby. Why are some ops levels different than others, right? Some of them have different amounts. Some of them even get raises. As a matter of fact, here, let's take a look real fast at Ops 70.
Go look at 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's look at Ops 70, which is right here, okay? Ops 70.
And by the way,
yeah,
I did one of these sheets for every ops between 60 and 70. I just want to point out how much work that was.
it was a
and
lot of work.
Be proud of that. It's a lot of
Cruzito
work.
says, did the refinery conversion get accounted for? Absolutely not. I don't think that you can. I mean, I guess you could, but that's a whole nother set of variables. But no, it was not factored in, okay? Which, by the way, is a valid perspective to have, Cruzito. If they increase the amount of traditional, you could have used the refinery to trade it up. That's certainly possible. Not a factor in this particular analysis.
But they would have had to give my ops way more to make it a proportionally equivalent increase because that exchange gets more efficient as you go up in ops.
Yeah. Like I said, that's
And they didn't do that.
That's not something that that's not something that I think that they did either. Okay, to be perfectly honest with you. All right. Now, looking at Ops 70, for example. All right, and by the way, this holds true for 66 and 68. Benny Hill says, can you say which ops benefit the most from this? Sure can. Essentially, even ops.
We'll show you in a minute.
Yeah, it's even
We'll
ops.
show you in a minute.
But Ops 70 is actually up 334,000 Sigma Steel. They're up roughly 11,000 Sigma Trite. And they're up 23,000 Sigma Deal. They're up all three categories. Okay? As is 68. As is 66. Why? Well, to answer that question, we need to go back to last month's Battle Pass. Okay? We need to go back to last month's Battle Pass and figure out why certain people got different things and the same things. Okay? Cruzito says, hasn't that been the case for Battle Passes where the evens get more? Yeah, not really.
No, they get the same. Every month that they've had Battle Passes bucketed, I mean, yeah, technically it would be the lower ops that gets more.
That's right.
Because they're getting the amount that the higher ops would get. And given that they bucket it from 61 to 62, 61 got, and I'm shooting myself in the foot with this, they got more than they were supposed to.
Well, I don't think that that's the right way to put it, okay? And this is where we come into what this change actually came from. Was it a tax? Not really. Wham says the lower ops always got more. That's right. They were always the odds got more. Your battle pass changed on the odds. So going to 61, you got an odd bucket. Going to 63, going to 65. As a matter of fact, let's come in. Tarpy, show me this chart where we had. Do we have it in here? No. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's take a look. Let's take a look over here. Okay, and I'm going to show this in the graphics room again. For example, let's take a look at steel. I want to start with steel. That
it's on the right
is right here. Okay, this is a How do I copy that out and put it in the graphics room? We'll try that. Nope, that didn't work. Paste? No?
I just screenshot it.
Okay. So taking a look at the free track of steel, this is just the free track of steel. You can see exactly what's happening here. S is Symbiosis Part 2. QC is Q's Continuum. Take a look at the brown squares. What you're seeing here at Ops 61 and 62 is that their payout is the same. At 63 and 64, the payout is the same. Look at that big jump between 66 and 67, for example, where 65, 66 are paid the same, 67 and 68 are paid the same, 69 and 70 are paid the same. In other words, they bracketed the Battle Pass in pairs of ops levels, which, by the way, has always been the norm. Like, that's literally always happened, and we've known it's happened. If you go to stfc.space and you take a look at how the Battle Pass breaks down by ops, don't we answer that question every single month, right? Should I ops up this month, or should I stay put? I'm ready to go to, for example, Tarpy, coming into this month, I'm ready to go to 62. Should I ops up? And by the way, if you were pre-ARC, we would have said, nah, don't push it. Right? Don't push it, because 61 and 62 got the same rewards in all previous Battle Passes for all time.
They kind of still do, mostly. But
yeah, not really, not now. Okay, because look here, what
they're
happened?
Like 5% different, which yes is a lot. It can still be a lot of Sigma, but that's still not a lot different.
You're exactly right, Wham. It's actually how you manipulate the game by leveling up during certain phases of events because of the payouts. However, doing that can cause a lower overall outcome. If you do it at the wrong time, you're absolutely correct. All right. Voltron says the refinery is better at 62. Listen, not very many people rely on the refinery for their income. All right. I mean, probably not.
I don't think this is a debate of whether to go up ops for this right now either. Like,
I'm not
the
saying
refinery is better, but yeah.
I'm not saying that people don't rely on it, Bond. That was probably a poor choice of words. I'm just saying the vast majority of your resource and materials come from events, not the refinery. Okay?
Were you saying you don't care?
No, I was not. At all.
Just checking.
So, if you take a look at Symbiosis 2, you'll see that the battle passes were bucketed. Let's take a look at the paid track of Sigma. Same thing. Even ops, or the odd ops, would go up and get the same pay as the even op right next to it. So 61 and 62 got paid the same. 65, 66 got paid the same. 69 and 70 got paid the same. Now, if you were comparing this in all previous months, there's two different perspectives here. I would actually say that the even ops level players, as you said, Tarpy, didn't get what they deserved because their packs would be elevated. Or you could say that the odds got more than they deserved. You could go either way on that. Doesn't matter. But the fact is 69 and 70 were making the same income, when the fact is 69 and 70 earned different amounts through other events and through paid packs. So, who was given an advantage or who was given a shortfall? Who's really to say? All right? Because only Scopely knows what those formulas actually are. Who got paid more? Was it the 69 or was the 70 underpaid? Well, it's always been that way. All right? And it's been accepted as commonplace in this game. Battle passes, just like almost every event out there, are bucketed and broken down by ops. And that's what's happened in the Battle Pass for all time. It's been separated by ops. Okay? What has happened this month is the first time something like this has ever happened. And we're going to talk about the ramifications of this here shortly. Okay? But in definition, what actually happened this month is that they broke out the Battle Pass for every single ops. Now, You can have an opinion as to why they did that. You can have an opinion as to why it's good or bad. And that's probably where this debate lies. But I think that we've always asked for things to be broken down by ops at a more detailed level. This is what this now does. A 61 gets X income. A 62 will get extra. A 63 will get extra. A 64 will get extra. A 65 will get extra, et cetera, et cetera. All right. General Lark says it rips players off. Well, again, depends on your perspective. Were the even players getting too little, or were the odd players getting too much? Because now it's going to be exactly the opposite. Even players are now getting what they deserve, while odd players are getting less. Look at this.
Than they deserve?
Well, less than they're accustomed to, for certain.
Okay, so
take a
you
look
know I'm
here.
going to be grumpy.
Well, sure. And it seems like players are. Look here. If you look at last month at 61, last month paid more. All right. And even with regards to Sigma, 61 and 62, neither one of them are a good spot. Okay? Because 61 and 62 actually got they got a reduction. 63 got a reduction. 64 got a raise. 65 got a reduction. 66 got a raise. 67 got a reduction. 68 got the raise. 69
doesn't exist.
69 has a reduction. It just doesn't show up here. But 70 got a raise, and a substantial one. So Spectre,
I think if I did the trend lines on all of those, 69 in this particular case would have been the same. Just looking at the kind of middle point between the two red dots, but different than the other ones. Anyway, you were saying Spectre?
Spectre points out in the chat that player choice is laced with Reaper hot sauce. Now, there's two different things that we're looking at in here, okay? No, Neon says 69 got screwed. No, I don't think so. I think 69 is probably the same as all the other odds. They got probably a tiny bit less, or at least, matched up. Now, Jonathan Ingram says none of us need steel. Okay, well, let's take a look at Tritanium. Okay, Tritanium here. 61, 62, 63, and 64 got less. 65 got less. 66 got less. 67 got less. 68 looks like it matches. 69 probably got less because it's off the chart, and 70 got a little bit less. Now, I want to come back. This is my asterisk on this study from earlier. As Jonathan Ingram points out, well, trade is the only stuff we need. Well, then your answer is quite simple. If you don't need steel, why buy steel? Right? If you don't need dill, then don't buy dill. If you are a player, and this comes back to what Tarpy was saying the other day, this comes back to what is it that you're actually going to buy? Are you going to buy what you need, or are you going to buy what history tells you you should based on the battle pass? Right? That's the big assumption here, is that we're coming in and saying that these battle passes are broken up based on the patterns of what they were in previous battle passes. And I've lost this chart. I don't even know where it is right now. Where's the chart?
What chart?
Here it is. There it is. Okay.
There's 6 of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is assuming, Jonathan Ingram, that you are following the template of a previously modeled battle pass. Now, if you're a player like Jonathan Ingram, who says, I don't need steel and I don't need dill, I just need trite, well, then you are in a great spot. Nah, you're in a great spot. Because you don't buy those things and you buy all the trite that you want. You get all that trite because you don't want the other stuff. The argument here comes from players who are in the camp of, I need all three. As in, Tarpy, like you said the other day, I want to stick to the pattern of the battle pass because I need all three. Right?
Right.
Okay. And if you do that, that is where this alleged tax is kind of coming into play. And I am not sure that it was the tax at all.
So
There's an argument to be made that it is down here in the lower ops because 61 through 64 all got less, right? So they're
across the board.
across the board. Yeah, if you
We got less.
look at all of them, it's that way all across the board.
Yeah.
You look at ops, let's look at ops 62, which is supposed to be one of the better ones, right? 62, where's the data chart on that one?
It's if they're all different.
I know,
They're-
that's what I was looking for.
You're literally looking at it right now.
No, I was looking
That's
for the
61.
I was looking for the for this chart. I was looking for this chart, but that's okay. So
Okay, you clicked away from it.
no, I was just on it.
For
61.
62, you clicked on it and then you clicked away from it to 61.
Yeah, they're not here. I'm looking for the graphs.
Yeah, they're all all of the ops are in the same graph. There's 6 graphs.
Oh yeah.
There you go. It's the furthest one to the left.
Okay.
So embarrassing.
Shush!
I know.
Where's Op 68? I can't see it. It's right here in front of my face. Okay. Now,
There you go.
Jonathan Ingram says the trite values need increased as the charts show. We're all getting less than in past months. This is the caveat. All right. This is where some players think that there is indeed a tax. All right. And where other players are going to maybe argue that point. But it does depend on your position. All right. Viper says, I thought he wasn't supposed to doubt Tarpey. I certainly don't. All right. As a matter of fact, the math, we agreed, is profound. It's exactly correct. Here's the problem that I think we're finding with this is there's 2 assumptions being made, one of which is probably slightly unfair. However, it does display the trend. The first assumption is that you are following a previous battle pass allocation. That is probably not super likely in most players' cases. But Tarpey wanted to ask. So, how do you want to phrase the question? I'll let you write the question.
Well, I mean,
How will you allocate your choice tokens? Is that non-biased enough?
do you plan on allocating your choice tokens similar to a regular battle pass?
By a previous battle pass ratio? Oh, wait. Previous BP ratio. Or what you want, right?
Isn't
Yeah,
this wide or
so-
deep?
Wide or deep.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, it is after dark.
I'm going to put this up, but before I do,
This is what Hammy said.
before I
Hammy
put
said
this
that.
out. Now listen, you guys are all saying this, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not talking about what you do for the study, because I agree with her study. I'm asking what you're going to do, not what you should do. I'm asking what you're gonna do. All right? Because Jonathan says, well, that's the only way to compare. I don't disagree. But are you going to spend on trite? I mean, are you going to spend on steel? No, you're not.
I mean, retrieving has a point.
Huh?
Retrieving has a point. If you choose some of them, you're taking away from the other, so it's still relative. So, like, if you're picking 5 tritanium, you're still getting less tritanium than you would in a month if they had not.
I
done
don't
the
disagree.
tax.
Yeah. No. Let me
That's
rephrase.
my point.
I am not disagreeing
Yeah.
with that. Okay. Yes, there is a fundamental reduction at the early levels. And then there is a reduction on the odds comparatively to last month because they've actually broken out the ops like they always should have done. Like, this, by the way, this is how it should be. Tarpey, just so people don't think that I'm trying to backdoor you here, yay or nay, this is how it should be.
Phrasing.
Phrasing.
So I am not going to answer that either way. because my ops in particular gets screwed right now to agree to that. And as much as I obviously
hang on a second.
I believe the numbers.
Take the numbers out of it. Should a 62 make more than a 61? And should a 63 make more than a 62?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. You can take
But-
these numbers are flawed. Okay. These numbers are flawed for sure. Wait, who's gaslighting what? I still don't fully understand the meaning of that word, Bad Wolf. That being said, these numbers are flawed. They do show a reduction. They do show a premium tax choice, whatever you want to call it. That is indeed what it's showing. However, go ahead.
I think you have I think there are two different ideas of premium and taxes that are different things here. Where the tax or the premium that I think we need to focus on is the fact that everybody's getting less trite comparatively. That is the premium or the tax that's on everyone.
You know, ironically, everybody except for 66. 66 got a trite raise.
Route 66 is the way to go. But
66 got a raise, Trash Keeper. So quit fussing. You're the only
It's not
ops.
much.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's not a loss. They're the only ops who
True.
didn't take a loss.
So, but I also don't want to conflate that with there is an exponent. Okay, the math people, I'm sorry. So I don't want to conflate the fact that we didn't get the same relative amount of titanium by a fair amount for pretty much every ops, and no one got a raise, with the idea that if you go to the bottom chart with the trend lines on it, the Sigma paid, dilithium paid, that one, you can see how the red dots line up with the red line. And that is not a tax or a premium. It's, as you said, if they follow that exponential line, because the trend line is on there for people who know how to kind of read those things, the R-squared value is pretty stinking good, and it gets better if you take out the zeros from the Sigma and the other ops. So the idea there is that you are right, DJs. Man, that hurt to say.
Ha!
No offense. Where you are right in that the lower ops are getting, this hurts, what they should have been getting before. So if Scopely wants to program their event rewards to follow this exponential curve, yeah, retrieving, thank you, do not clip that. Where
Clip it.
no. Where the red line is how the rewards look, this is how Ops 60s, the G6 ops are going to look for Sigma. And that is different. The equation and the math suggesting where the amount of resources should be is different than having one of them where you move the line down compared to what it was last month.
So
that is a tax where you just move the entire thing down.
Sure. And I
That's
actually,
different.
yeah, and I agree with that. I think what we're looking at here, and Wham is starting to see it. Muffins.
Oh, there's ads right now. by the
Yeah,
way.
they're going to have to get subbed. We're right in the middle of this.
You should do
big-
squirrel voice.
No, I refuse. I will not do
Yes.
it. No.
No! Damn it!
All right.
Wow.
Muffins talked about this. We'll talk to Jules about it coming up in a moment. Wham is pointing it out in the chat. Here's the deal. They have basically rewritten a battle pass. All right.
Yes.
They've rewritten the battle pass to scale by ops now, essentially saying that every ops is now going to get what their new model says. Wham says, I'm conflicted on this. I want lower ops to catch up for fun, but to say higher ops don't get equal amounts because they kept the game going by paying is a flawed idea. And I don't necessarily disagree. Okay? Because what is happening here is that Scopely has taken 5 segments of Battle Pass and now made it 10. Okay? And in most cases, almost all cases, what you're seeing now is the odd ops levels are going to relatively, as Tarpy puts it, get less than they would have gotten under the previous model, while the evens are going to get more. It's essentially they took the exact same bucket, and on one side they made it lower, on the other side they made it higher, so it still averages to basically be the same bucket as it was before, averaged between the two ops, which ironically, that's right, Rogers. Who's to say that the old model wasn't flawed? Well, here's the thing. The old model was accepted as commonplace, right? So I don't disagree. I've actually always claimed that model was kind of flawed because it didn't inflate by ops, even though PAX would. All right. So Roy Rogers is onto something. Who's to say the old model wasn't flawed? I don't know that anybody is going to say that the old model wasn't perfect, but it was accepted. And Tarpy's complaint this month comes in where at 61, she's going to get a substantial amount less under the new Battle Pass than she would have under the previous Battle Pass. And that substantially lower amount is not uniform as it goes up.
And it's in part because I know that I can't compare two different battle passes because they're two different battle passes, but I need those resources to go along with the mats that I'm spending, and I don't want a reduction in my mats, but I need those resources to spend the mats I'm still getting. So having a reduction in the resources stinks when I'm getting the same amount of mats. But the thing that I do want to point out is I love this choice. I keep saying that every time. I love the choice. And as we keep saying for arenas, where we need to wait for it to iterate for several different months and several different occurrences, that overall it's a probably better way to do it.
As a matter of fact,
because
I'm sorry, I thought you were about done. I'm gonna jump in on that. I'm gonna add to that, as people are naturally going to assume that I'm going to do. But
right,
you mentioned that it overall is probably a better way to go. Now, I want to ask why. I want to ask why fundamentally, if the overall result, if it were going to, now, do I think that numbers need to be adjusted slightly? I'm not going to say no to that, because they're like from 64 down, it looks like it's not just a rebalancing of rewards, right? I think that we can safely say, Tarpy, it's from 64 down, you are getting a little bit less. All right. You can call it premium, you can call it choice tax, you can call it whatever you want. But even with the breakout of the even and ops, you are referring to the fact that there's a little bit less. Now, I do want to point out one thing that this data is missing. These charts are not showing the token. All right.
No, because the tokens are dependent on the amount of raw resources that you get.
Yes, but they still add to the total
that's
amount
why
of
I
resource.
didn't include them.
They still add to the total amount of resource, though. Right? And we counted that. So did you count tokens for Symbiosis Part 2 or no?
Oh, yes, I did. But I didn't put them in
See?
any of the things because, well, I mean, you already talked about the difference in the tokens too, because you talked about the overall difference in
you can't have a
total...
you can't have a fractional cost of a token, right?
Right. Yeah, but you also, for the small polls versus the big polls, and this is where they're divvying up or dividing of they had a group of mats that they wanted to give us overall, or they kind of figured that we would get if we did it the way that I planned it, right? So they wanted to give, like, they didn't want 61 to get more than the number of pulls or like maximum. I'm explaining that weird, but where I'm going with this is I just squirrel brained that entirely, everyone. I am so sorry.
That's all right. What we're looking at here is Jonathan Ingram is right. You don't get tokens in the small ones. You got to get tokens in the
Yep.
big ones. But
That's it.
even then, you can't have a fractional number of tokens. And the denomination of tokens that exist in G6 is probably a little less than what it needed to be. What Muffins was talking
Right.
about in the lab earlier today was that Scopely probably would have solved this issue, or could have solved this issue, with the introduction of additional denominations of token, right? There's not,
Right.
for example, a 1,000 Sigma Tritanium token. There's just 10,000. All right.
Yep.
So what they could have done, there's two things that they could have done. All right. One, of course, is done what they did. All right. But the other would have been to do like they've done in G4 and 5 and to add additional denominations of token. Now, if that was not in the cards, so be it. I do think communication would have been better on this. Hammy came out and said that there was a premium attached to choice. All right.
Right.
I don't think that that was actually the writer's intention. All right. I think this comes down to math, and I think that probably not one human did a lot of this math because they've got formulas and algorithms for this stuff. The problem comes down into tokens. As Jonathan points out, there's only one token for each resource. That's it. All right. So
Right.
the
And that was, sorry.
go ahead, finish your
Go for it.
thought because I want to come into an analysis here.
So that was actually something that I brought up the very first day of this, was there aren't small enough tokens for any of the amounts that we're getting. So this is why you only see tokens in the 68 to 69 to 70 range, because that's the first time that any of the bins have big enough amounts to get tokens. And that's the biggest difference for a lot of these lower ops, is we just never get big enough bins or small enough tokens.
Now, Jonathan Ingram has the message right. Well, if there's not enough denominations for tokens, then give us extra raw instead of being worried about fractional tokens. I
Exactly.
think that I agree with that. I think that's a solid answer. I think that there's probably a mathematical or a handwritten formula problem or some kind of template somewhere that resulted in this issue here this month. Is that to say that it can't be corrected? Absolutely not. But I do think you're on the right track. That is what
So-
needs to happen, is the increased payout of raw to counteract the fractional tokens. All right?
So how that would work is, you see how there's that curve on the one graph that I have? You can make that curve more of a C, or you can literally just raise the whole thing higher, where you just kind of move it up a line. And that's just all things that Scopely can control with how they want to distribute the resources. And where I was going with this is, it always stinks the first time that something changes. We don't like change, despite we want new loops and we want more things to do and to get rid of old loops or whatever. We don't like change. And this is the first time that this particular system is happening. So I think it's good, but I don't want it to go away. But them kind of hiding that, yeah, some of you are going to get way less stuff than you would have gotten had you been here a month ago, that kind of stunk too.
So let's talk about real quick. Let's summarize what we've got here, and I think that the math, for example, is definitive. Okay, the math is absolutely definitive here. We have found the pattern and we found the reasoning for it. Primarily tokens, A, and B, the separation of ops. The ops thing, by the way. Yo, what's up? MW Original. Thanks for the follow. The ops breakdown, that is ultimately a good thing. Now, I'm going to explain why. And then, of course, you got choice, which is always going to be a good thing. So I'm going to come back to this poll. Now, before you answer, community, I want to make sure that it is fundamentally 100% understood that we're not talking about the comparison of math. I want to know your behavior. All right? We are acknowledging that there is less pay here. If Scopely does as Tarpey suggests and just raises the whole bar, okay, which, by the way, is probably what should happen. All right. But let's just assume for a second that the whole bar is elevated just to the point where everybody gets some raise. And by the way, we're telling you right here and now, the raise is not going to be equal by ops because of the way that they're doing this curve now. This is how it should be. Op 70 is exponentially more expensive than Op 62. Do we all agree? So it shouldn't have a fixed line straight percentage more pay than Op 61. It's going to be exponential. That being said, should a 61 and a 62 get the same rewards? Well, no, nobody's ever going to say that. Should a 65 and a 66 get the same rewards? No, nobody's ever going to say that. 66 should get more than a 65, who should get more than a 64, should get more than a 63. All right? That's how it should be paid. So the fact that they've broken out this battle pass this way is actually amazing. In that regard, everybody gets raises. Or that's the way it should be. Everyone gets a raise from the previous level. Let me rephrase. All right? So when we talk about the choice mechanic of this, some people are going to come in and say, well, I am going to evenly spend, or others are going to say, I'm going to buy what I need now. And that is the question that I'm asking. Specifically, are you going to allocate your choice tokens based on the previous month of allocation, of ratio? Or are you going to buy what you need in that moment, or what you think you need in that moment, or what it is that you think you're going to need next week? Are you going to mathematically allocate your choice tokens, or are you going to buy what you feel like buying that day? And that is going to come in and basically fundamentally answer the question, Tarpy, is choice the better way to go? And obviously, I think that the answer is probably going to be yes, because in Jonathan Ingram's case, for example, yes, not as a 70, because 70's got a raise. Let's pretend he was an Op 69, okay? Let's pretend he was an Op 69. Or whatever. Let's pretend that we're going with an Op 64. Okay? An Op 64 who gets a decline across the board. This is a bad example, Tarpy, because 64 still needs steel. But let's pretend for a second that Jonathan Ingram, let's go back to Jonathan Ingram and pretend he's Op 69. All right? He says at 69, I would have bought more steel than anything else. Good example. Thank you. At Op 69, he would have bought more steel than anything else. Not needing the trite, because he wasn't Shipyard 70, couldn't build the ship. He would have needed to push to get to Shipyard 70, therefore needing the steel sooner than he needed the trite. Even now, he says, as a 70, I am going to not buy steel. I want trite. So when we're looking at this, it's not about the amount that we're getting or not getting at this point as more as it is about the choice. I don't disagree that this choice premium doesn't feel good. All right? I definitely don't disagree. And by the way, there's only 3 or 4 ops levels that have it better. That would be 66, 68, 70, and that's it. There's 3 ops levels that have it better. Everybody else is going to receive a little bit less than they got last month. How much is going to depend on whether you're an odd or an even. Okay?
And as you pointed out earlier, as you go up in ops, you get different stuff. You get more stuff. You get G6 stuff. You get G5 stuff if you go up between 2 different grades in the middle of the battle pass. These change as you go up in ops. So, this removes the panicked thinking right Sunday night before a battle pass. Oh, am I ready? Am I ready for the next thing? No, now you can be ready in the middle, and then get more of the resources and mats that you need in that generation in the middle of the battle pass, when all of your SLBs change in the middle. So if you wanted to go from 60 to 61 this coming weekend, then you will be getting G6 stuff for the rest of the battle pass.
Which was going to be my next point. The one thing that we have not taken into account here, which I think that it has an intangible benefit. I think that there is an abstract benefit towards leveling up in the middle of a month. Never before, well, that's a lie. 5 years ago, with the original introduction of the Battle Pass, for those of you who are here long enough to remember it, the Battle Pass rewards were in fact paid out as event store bundles, meaning that if you leveled up your ops, then you got the increase in payout mid-month. That doesn't happen anymore because today's Battle Pass is actually an event. It doesn't go into the event store. All right. So it is an event, meaning that where you are at the very beginning of the month is where you are locked. On day one, your Battle Pass is locked in for the remaining 20 days of the month. You could go up 3 or 4 ops levels, and you are still locked in. So when we're looking at this track here, for example, let's take a look and say, I'm op 62. Okay? I'm op 62. If I were to push 63, which I am currently doing right now, if I went to op 63, now, under the new model, I am actually going to get an increase from 62. The argument that Tarpy was making earlier was that it's not a relative increase compared to what the previous Battle Pass was. But my argument is the previous Battle Pass would have had a relative increase of 0 because I wouldn't have gotten the increase in the middle of the month. So the relative increase in this month would have been 0 if I leveled up in ops. Now I'm going to. Now, Retrieving says, isn't that a trap? I don't know. I don't think so. Because if I go up, and how many of us have opsed up in the middle of a Battle Pass? I mean, how many of you have ever done it? Ever. I mean, just ever. If you're pushing in an auction, if you're trying to finish a milestone, how many people have ever leveled up in the middle of a Battle Pass? One's in chat if you have. I'm just curious.
Hey, DJ.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, so this specific thing that you're talking about right now is really intriguing to me because I'm sitting at 50 and 51 doesn't take it doesn't take any or very little uncommon G4 mats or G5 mats, and 52 takes very little uncommon. So I don't have to, I can go up 2 ops but before the end of this arc and then cash in all of my stuff, making myself ready with 52 rewards going into next arc.
Well, sure. If you are planning on leveling your ops this month, don't spend any of your Battle Pass yet. This is the same as you would, I don't know, the loyalty tokens, Jules. Like when you cross into G6 and you got the loyalty tokens, you've been teaching people, hold on to those until you go G6.
Hoard.
Yeah, then spend them because you're going to get so much more stuff. All right? This is the thing. And by the way, I'm putting off, I'm noting in the chat that it's full of 1s. There's a couple of 2s in there. I can't believe that there are people who have never leveled up in a Battle Pass, but that exists. All right? Balabom says I have, but it's because I was left unsupervised. All right. Carissa says another question, DJ, might be how many held off because you wouldn't get an increase? What they have done here, and this is where we talk about pros and cons, all right, is the right answer, the best answer, the most player beneficial answer is for Scopely to give us all a raise? Absolutely. But are there benefits to this model even as it sits? And the answer is yes. Maybe not for 100% of the population, though. And that's a scary thing, right, Tarpy? Like, that's where we come down and say, well, what's good for one isn't necessarily good for the other. The relative increases are sometimes better or worse than others. The pay decreases might be better or worse for some people. Some people may not want to chase Commander Q, so they're not going to level up this month. There's a lot of what ifs there. But
You mean they're not going to level up this weekend because we don't know what's coming the next 2 weeks?
oh, that's right. Yeah. Are you going to level up in weekend 1? Because you're not going to have a reason to in level weekend 2. Based on the calendar, by the way, I'm not alluding to anything. Based on the calendar.
I was going to say, you said it.
No. Based on the calendar, there's not an auction next weekend. All right. But my point is this. If you level up, never before have we had the chance to increase our rewards as we go, which, depending, if you go with what Putz just pointed out, would actually would eliminate this tax completely if you pulled 0 tokens at your current ops. So let me ask the question. For anybody in chat who was planning on pushing their progression up an ops level this month, would it have been the right strategic move to not spend any of your choice tokens at all? Right?
And I just want to point out what Spectre's saying. This is entirely G6.
And that's right,
as
by the
far
way.
as I can tell.
G4 and G5 all pretty much got inflations, got raises, because, again, that is the norm. Okay, that's the norm. That's what they're supposed to be. Dragon Keeper says, I have not claimed any tokens yet, and I am pushing up. Brilliant. That's the right way to do it. Now, I just want to point out calmly, coolly, and collectedly that we are a smart group of people. We are very intelligent. We analyze. We do math. We have pretty charts. We are the players who beat Scopely at their own game. We are the players who come in and look for efficiency and look for value and look for all this stuff. Okay? We find the best ways to play the game. That's what we do. Game Junior says, don't rope me into this whole smart group there, DJs. All right? I am not defending this tax. And this is what Tarpy, and I were talking about before. She's like, you're going to have a hard time convincing people that this is good. I said, I don't want to convince anybody that it's good. I want to lay out the facts so that people can do what they want to do. That's what we do with every mechanic in this game. We explain to you what it is, the strategy, and how you beat it. If this is the model for this month, which obviously it is, how do you beat it? Well, you beat it if you're going to level up. You beat it by saving your choice tokens until you level up. All right? If you are looking at leveling up, I would say do it. If you're holding yourself back from leveling up, there is no longer a penalty. Or let me rephrase. There is no longer not a benefit to go into the next level because they broke them all out. If you went from 61 to 62 before, your raise was nothing. Now, there's an incentive on every single level. Further, you can change that payout in the middle of the month instead of waiting till the next month. So there are a couple of abstract benefits here. Is it a good thing? That's up to you. In this current form, those are the pros and cons. I want you guys to make your decisions based off that. Now, if I'm summarizing with this, should Scopely offer a raise to make everybody feel good about it? Sure they should. I don't know if they will. This is the model we have here and today. Is the feedback going to be it needs to be increased? Yes, that's the feedback. However, how are players going to maximize their income this month? By doing what we have taught you here today. Go ahead, Tarpy.
So, Spectre mentioned that this isn't a good month to go up for G6 for Sigma, and
I disagree.
I do too, and it's because you don't. If you're not G6, you don't get Sigma, as has been said dozens of times on this platform, because any Sigma is better than no Sigma, and
right.
it's what you need. It's the currency that builds things. And so going from 60 to 61, and this also answers Manic's question in the chat, you get Sigma in the event store as soon as you hit 61. And the problem that I think, and I'm a little frustrated with it because this is my first month of G6 and I'm getting less than people got last month if they went G6 a month ago. But if this is how this system would need to be going forward, this, I think, is a better overall system, as much as it sucks more for me right now.
Roy Rogers writes in the chat, what I believe is confusing here is that they've been improving the G6 economy and then they take a step back in the battle pass. And Roy, I think that's a good summary. All right. This is, I'm not going to say a step backwards. Actually, the mechanic is definitely a step forward. Every time you level up and in real time, you get paid more. The step backwards is how they evaluated the tokens. All right, or the way that the tokens were calculated. And I still think that can be corrected. I think that they can do like Jonathan Ingram says and push the raw counts up a little bit in place of the missing tokens. I think that is absolutely something possible that they can do. Is this an issue that can be easily fixed? Absolutely. Do I want this choice model to go away? Absolutely not. And 91% of players in our current live studio audience agree. 91 to 9% indicate that choice tokens are going to be spent based on what I need, not a previous battle pass ratio, which automatically tells me, Tarpy, that this is the right model. We just got to fix the contents of these bundles a little bit more. Just tweak on them a little bit. Because the benefit of this, tax or not, the benefit of this is you still control your raise. You control your increase depending on how you perform, how you pull the bundles, and how you level up. But it doesn't excuse the fact that there is still, indeed, a tax here. And that is what Scopely could have avoided. This could have been a very celebrated move, Tarpy. Instead, there's a little bit of vinegar on some players' tongues because of this. They could have avoided it by launching this properly the very first time around, and then it would have been win, 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 win. You know what I'm saying? But, as you point out, it is the first iteration, and we look forward to conversing with them to hopefully make improvements moving forward. Go ahead, Tarpy. You get the final word before we take our first break.
Thank you. So I really think this is good. In all of this, I might be complaining and I am doing the whole thing, but this is good. I want them to keep this system. So, like, it hurts right now. It's better over time that it's done this way so that you can progress in the middle of a battle pass.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
And Venadia says, how many times do we say this could be good if it were just launched properly the first time around? Totally.
Or communicated.
Yeah, spoken truthfully. Now, Amber says, this vote is based on resources alone, people ignoring the materials being tied to them. Here's the thing, Amber. Materials weren't changed because there's no such thing as a material token. The materials, even in G6, were evenly paid. They did not have a variance. It was just the resources, and specifically Sigma. So that was the point of this whole thing. Worf asks, is it going to be a different token next month? Heck, I don't even know if this model is going to repeat itself next month. If you were asking me, should you spend your tokens? The answer is absolutely yes. Do them strategically, obviously, but definitely spend them this month. Okay? Do not save them for a future month. There is absolutely no confirmation that these tokens will be used in the future. All right? They have offered. Can you imagine? You want to talk about a tax. How gut-punching, Tarpy, would it be to save those tokens and it not be here next month? Ouchies. All right. Vul says the point is.
That would hurt.
Oh, yeah, that would be terrible. Vul says the point is that the mats are married to a specific resource. That's never really changed. Like that's now, I mean, that could also be discussed, but I mean, that's always been that way. It's that way in the Alliance store. It's that way with events. I mean, not saying that it has to stay that way. It doesn't. I'm not saying it has to stay that way. I'm just saying, like, why would we? I don't feel like that's a problem that needs fixing.
This is a really good plug for Spock's Club and using Spock's Club.
Oh, yeah.
To figure out how much of each thing you need so you can pull things appropriately.
That's right. Shout out Spock's Club. Go check them out. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we return, we're going to talk about Commander Q with Jules Verne. He's going to talk to you about the benefits of unlocking and leveling this officer, as well as all the other multitude of Q that we've got this month. Jules Verne comes in with an officer analysis because you need to know that this weekend, as this is the only weekend that we see an officer acquisition event in the calendar. What does that mean for next weekend? Well, Scopely has been mum's the word as it comes to weekends number 2 and 3. So we better act now. And is it actually worth it? Jules Verne gives you the analytics coming up on the other side of this break. My name is Ultimate DJs, and this is Talking Trek Live, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast. We'll be back right after these words. This portion of the show brought to you by CrazyBunch.org. Are you old like Bubba Joe and get tired playing video games? Surtail has a solution for your health and wellness needs, especially while gaming. You could try an energy gummy for those long incursion events, or just to keep yourself conscious while you're doing all that mining. Surtail is an independent distributor of all aerial products you'll need to improve your gaming experience. Message Surtail on Discord or visit crazybunch.org for more information. Yo, what's up, Commanders? Great news about PvPtarget.com. You've known for a while that it exists and has some great reference tools regarding PvP banding and common crew loadouts, but they've recently launched brand new tools on the site, including a brand new cargo calculator page as well. This isn't your typical max cargo style calculator, but a brand new, unique tool that identifies the timer until you go over cargo. The game timer might tell you how long to zero the node, but how long until your miner is at risk? You can find out now by using the brand spanking new cargo calculator at pvptarget.com. Today's show brought to you in part by the Musgrove Trial Firm in Georgia. Have you suffered personal injury in Georgia? You need a buddy. Give Buddy at the Musgrove Trial Firm a call, 678-226-1999. I'm telling you,
Thank you.
what an insane amount of work. And I agree, the data was necessary because you know here's what's crazy, Jules. Scopely themselves didn't come out and tell us. This was, and again, I come back to my my hypothesis, which is that Hammy didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Hammy did not know. He came out. He came out and said, "This is a premium. This is a choice tax." Because if he had known, why would Scopely not have said what we just talked about? Hey, yes, this is a con, but here are the pros. Like, you can level up, and it changes because it's individually ops bracketed now, and it's not double ops bracketed anymore. Like, why couldn't Hammy have come out and said that? It seems to me like this comes down to a little bit of a communication issue internally, because this, I think, barring a little bit of the actual math, and they can make a very easy adjustment to this, but this is a winning model. They should have come out and taken the win, in my opinion. Lost In says because he doesn't think it was intended. Dude, somebody rewrote the battle pass. You know what I'm saying? Somebody rewrote the battle pass. They knew what they were doing. But that being said, it was an incredible amount of work. Tarpy, thank you for all the work. Thanks to everyone who submitted the data, the screenshots. Thanks to Muffins over in the lab. I know he was very involved with all this. This allowed us, and this is why I talk about the community. I bragged on you guys at the beginning with Echo. This is why Scopely trusts our community, because we find the stuff that maybe they don't even know about, possibly, potentially. I do think that this one was known. That being said, as Jules points out, all of that data was necessary for us to even understand what the problem was and suggest a fix. A fix that is a real fix and not a knee-jerk reaction into something that isn't actually going to fix the problem.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So Andy says we shouldn't have to find this stuff, and I'm not necessarily going to disagree with that. However, we've got thousands of players in this community to the dozen or so that are on the live ops team, and I'm okay with the community having a direct say and direct influence over the programming of this game, Andy. I'm okay with that. I am sometimes disappointed when we find something that should have been caught, but at the same time, the fact that we get to have that influence is for this community's perspective, it's a privilege that not all gaming communities get to enjoy. You know, so I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. I agree that it could be cleaner directly out of the gate. But at the same time, I also like the fact that we can do this kind of analysis and that we can take it back and it'll actually be listened to. You know, so that I think is more valuable than anything, is that this is going to be listened to. And I think that is actually a good thing. 10-minute warning on your dailies, everybody. 10-minute warning on your dailios. Dave Strauss says, I agree, DJs. I'm grateful to see Echo respond in person. Things like, hey, I messed this up. Thank you for catching. I'll fix it. Thank you for the feedback. Echo's been very active in the chat this month, and I think that that's a good thing. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. Jules, analytics of your own are present here tonight. The community is looking at what appears to be some type of hybrid something weird something or other this month, because for the first time in a very long time, we actually only see one weekend of events related to the acquisition of Commander Q. We're talking about one heroic and one auction. Now, lots of people are speculating as to what that is going to mean for weekends number 2 and number 3. I can't necessarily really comment on that since I already know what it is. And some people are going to love it and some people aren't going to love it. That's just the nature of the game in this particular format. But it leaves players who are uneasy about not knowing anything. Jules, that leaves them uneasy about whether or not this guy is actually worth it. As a matter of fact, we could dump all these materials and still only get half of an officer. Is it worth stressing about, Jules? Is Commander Q the new Carol Freeman?
No.
Well, there you go, everybody. And that is that segment.
Well, I think we should live inside of STFC space for this because we're going to be comparing tier for tier, rank for rank with a lot of other officers. In our circle, by the way, I've prepared the links for some of the ones that we'll be talking about. So let's go ahead and talk about the captain. The epic Starfleet Q first.
All right, let's get to him. Starfleet Q, and this, again, available on stfc.space. For those of you listening along, what we're looking at here is the Neutral Interceptor Retaliation Squad, essentially a new PvP crew, and headed up by this particular officer, Starfleet Q, as a captain, that is meant to mathematically attack interceptors from any ship. All right. That is the way that he is written, is that he doesn't need to be. We've had others that have to be on a certain type of ship, right? When on a battleship, will affect explorers, this and that. This one is not that way. This one is on round start against players. All right. Or on round start if on a ship against players in an interceptor. This is the opposite of what we've seen with some of the other strike teams in that it is specifically meant to target a specific ship type without having the prerequisite for you to be on a specific ship type. That is Starfleet Q. Jules, what is your analysis of Starfleet Q?
Well, he is the linchpin of the Q crew. The rest of the rare officers, the other Qs, require morale. Him in the captain's seat grants 100% morale with both of them as the side chair. So you have to have Starfleet Q if you want this entire Q squad together. Now, that's not to say that you need to have Starfleet Q to get your morale. I mean, you could have pick Picard in the captain's chair in order to get morale. Not 100% chance, but maybe he provides you more benefit and a little bit more broad range, even though he is also ship type specific. So could be a problem using Starfleet Q in that particular regard. But if we kind of look at him, the totality of the Q crew, he is the linchpin. So if you are, as we go through the rare officers, he may be super important to look at and want to get in order to kind of become part of that group. His officer ability, now this is an interesting one. He does Apex Barrier, which we were introduced with the Mirror crew, except it's on round start if placed on a ship with morale against players commanding interceptor. Yes, I know there's some specificity there, but it increases Apex Barrier for 5 rounds, which means it's cumulative based on this wording. So even at rank 1, by round 5, you should start with 50,000 Apex Barrier. Now that is a lot.
I was looking for the button. That's what I changed something. I screwed up the screen. Yeah, I was looking for buttons there. Yeah, he's cumulative. Get it? Cumulative. Yes, round start increases Apex Barrier by 10,000. This is at tier 1, mind you, for 5 rounds. A cumulative stack. Now, let's talk about what 50,000 Apex Barrier does. 50,000 Apex Barrier is, by the way, another battle that I lost here months ago, is diminishing returns, but is essentially 500% more survivability on a diminishing scale model. All right. Basically saying that on a, not a net, but on an efficiency model, you will take 500% less damage overall net. Okay. Like isolytic, total, crit, all the stuff.
1/5 the damage.
1/5
Ish.
All right. And by the way, that's correct, Lost In. Only against interceptors and if they have morale. Now, again, I'm going to remind you, as Jules points out, if you're running Commander Q, you probably are running him with synergy. Okay, this is a cookie cutter crew, Jules, and I agree with some players when they talk about, man, this feels awful niche. On the other hand, Strike Team was kind of niche, too. The new lower deck Strike Team additions were kind of niche. All right, really
But here's the thing. I will say the difference between this, and we have to compare this crew with the other PvP metas, and that is the Mirror crew, Mirror Picard, Mirror Data, and then whoever we decide. I'm going to use Mirror Kira because she has an increase in shots, so she'll be a good comparison point. We've got the Carol Freeman crew with Lorca and HG Worf, and then we've got the Strike Teams. So if we compare strictly the Q crew versus, let's say, Mirror crew in this regard, they are going to have more Apex barriers later down the line. But also, when you unlock this crew, you get them all tier 1, they work immediately.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint about Mirror Data was that if he doesn't proc well, then this crew is trash. You know, like if you can't get procs and assimilate proc in round 1 or even round 2, you've been dead already. So that's where that crew was really difficult because they put it in the officer ability and only required him to be maxed for you to have reliable proc rates. So here, different. You'll get reliable proc rates right off the bat.
Now, I do want to point out real quick,
yeah.
as Spectre mentions in the chat, there is a little bit of return of Crewjitsu a little bit with Mirror, Picard, and Data, because there is still kind of a triangle. If you look at it, and we've seen a lot more of this here lately due to PvP arenas, but Carol, Honor Guard Worf, and Lorca, for example, can, in most cases, beat the original Strike Team, but Mirror with a good Data, by the way, can beat the Carol, HG Worf, and Lorca crew. All right. There has been a little bit of the restoration of some sort of a PvP battle triangle with some of the PvP crews that they've come out with. It took them a year and a half or however long since Carol Freeman came out and broke PvP, but they're finally starting to get around to, I don't know, it's still not balanced, but at least there's not a God mode crew anymore. I think it might be the better way to put that. I guess there is still a God mode crew, which is still Carol, unless you have a tier 5 Data. Jules, is that a general ballpark statement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's been really tough because we've been seeing a lot of disparity between player accounts as well, with other factors, including critical damage, isolytic damage, and we're just seeing a higher separation. So arenas is now one of the first times where there's even just a chance that you're going to be going up against a player who has got a similar research level as you, and now Crewjitsu matters, as you've been saying. So I think that in that regard, there probably is, if all things are equal, Mirror.
Yeah. Take out the forbidden tack. What is that one? What is that new forbidden tack?
Tantalus Field.
The Tantalus Field. Take the Tantalus Field out. All right. Take the Tantalus Field out, and that maybe you have a little bit more balance. But the Tantalus Field is the new Carol Freeman and just kind of throws everything all out of whack again. But anyway, that being said, there is a little bit more balance to PvP than there was a year ago. Now we enter in this new Q crew, the Interceptor targeting team, essentially, the crew that can go against interceptors. Now, the problem that I find with this crew right up front is probably not going to surprise anybody. It's the problem that happens with almost every PvP crew when they come out, is that it's essentially being entirely sold. Okay, here you go, weekend 1 with Starfleet Q. Okay, you can only get half. Fine. Even if you could earn the entire officer, you still have to pay for the rares in order to make the captain any good. As in, Commander Q has no purpose in your officer lineup if you don't have the officers to go with him. This, I think, is the big failure that Scopely has with these types of sets. I hate cookie cutter sets because if I don't pay for the rare packs, this officer's worthless to me. And that just kind of makes me angry. Roselia says this is a fail for me. I agree. This officer, if you don't buy officers this month, this officer's worthless because you don't know what the source is going to look like.
Vul brings up a good point. Like, do you pair this with another crew that has morale being procced, like TOS Kirk and TOS Uhura? Now, that's bringing it way back to when PvP crewing was actually Crewjitsu. I don't know if those crews stand the test of time, even if you add Starfleet Q to that. So I don't know if that's the way to go in these situations, or if maybe what we're looking at here is the third, fourth, fifth PvP crewing that we now need because our ships are, our primary ships, our secondary ships have been destroyed in arenas, and we have to wait the 2 minutes for them to get repaired. So maybe you're going to, try to get all the shards you can now and eventually build some sort of, tertiary or, way down the line, a crew just to have another crew set. Maybe this one has a little bit of value too.
Now, I do see this question. What if he was used as a side card to pick Picard? Let's take a look at Pick Picard. See, here's the problem you got with Pick Picard. You, as a captain, do have 90% chance at morale, but it's still not 100, okay? And if you don't have 100, then basically you've got 2 officer slots now that don't function. You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, now, granted, 90% is good. 90% is fine.
Plus,
those are good odds.
His Pick Picard's officer ability is against explorers. So it's not like you're doubling down against interceptors here and really tackling interceptors. But
yeah, it's not. That's why I say, like, if he doesn't fire, you got 2 officer slots that are doing nothing. If he does proc, you still have 1 officer slot not doing anything. So you're losing a much needed spot for abilities when in PvP, when you're talking about trying to overcome other PvP crews and Tantalus Field, et cetera, et cetera. Andy says, I don't know. You could argue that now you could attack 2 different types of ships. Do you think Picard's officer ability is paramount in PvP? Because I'm not feeling that 500% base damage increase. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's just those are PvP officers that didn't really work in. They were released, I think, in an effort to try to stabilize PvP. They failed. All right. So now Caledon, just as a reminder, Tier 5 Harry Kim will offer you 100% morale below deck, but in PvE only. Yeah, he is not a PvP officer. He's only against armadas and hostiles. So you can't use any of the Voyager lower decks in PvP. No BLT, no Neelix, and no Harry Kim. All right. So you take a look at.
I do want to move
guy.
on to.
Yeah.
I mean, we could take a look at this guy a little bit more too, but I think what's important is to then define what the actual ability of the entire Q crew is before returning back to Starfleet Q and saying yes or no, chase him this weekend.
You got it.
So let's dive into Mariachi Q. Now he's got an officer ability of isolated damage increase. Again, on round start, if placed on a ship with morale against players, increases your isolated cascade damage by 50% up to 120% for 3 rounds.
Let me point out, I love Cascade. All right, I always do, always will. As far as PvP goes, Cascade is going to be good. A good use here.
Indeed. Cascade's good, but it's for 3 rounds on each round start, which means it stacks. So by round 3, even a rank 1, you're looking at 150% isolate Cascade. Mew Picard has the same ability as his officer ability. He's got 150% if you've got full synergy, and he actually stacks for 2 rounds, meaning by the start of round 2, he's got a 300% isolate Cascade. So that's kind of where his ability kind of starts to build a little bit. This has a very similar, but if you can get this officer and somehow are able to rank him up quite a bit, you actually do have quite a potent isolated cascade in 360%. That's higher than Carol Freeman.
Which also requires the only method of acquisition is to buy an in-app pack.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah. And if we take a look at I did not provide you a link, but for the Jack Ransom, he's on an Explorer with morale. He'll increase your Isolate Cascade by 60% for 1 round. So he has a higher base numbers, but it's only for 1 round, and it has to be on Explorer with morale. So there is more conditions to the old strike team. So is this Mariachi Q an improvement to the previous strike teams? Is more potent? Yes. Is more potent. Does require you to get past round 1. So if you're still struggling to get past round 1 in your battles, then the Q crew, at least with Mariachi Q, is still not going to get you there because it requires that build up over time.
Also pointing out from the chat, Fat Man points out in the chat that he also doesn't specify the targeting of an interceptor, which I think is a really, really good point.
Exactly.
This only specifies your own condition, which is that you have morale. This makes Mariachi Q actually a very interesting and probably a valuable officer, which, is how they do it these days because that's why he's paid. But this officer, actually not bad. All right, when you talk about rares
he's
and
actually
PvPs.
better than when he originally. Yep, he is better than a lot of the other strike teams. But if you scroll down too, you can see his below deck ability, which I see as a hint for the future.
Ooh, tell us.
Yeah, on round start against players afflicted by burning. So this is basically a copy paste of the second run of lower decks that complemented the strike teams, in which a officer was good in one crew, but then below decks was good for another crew.
Yep.
So maybe this is a hint that our current morale Q squad will be followed up by a burning squad, or even a whole breed squad, who knows? But I think that this is a very interesting thing. And I think, to be honest with you, when we talk about having to get past round 1, you need to get Apex Barrier. I think that is kind of the way of them kind of defeating Carol Freeman in a way, is by saying, no, we're actually going to reduce the damage of the other player enough so you can get to round 2 at least. And then in round 2, we're going to give you crew sets that are going to start to, really build up some damage and start to really give you an edge against the Carol Freeman crew. So I think that you almost need the full Q squad and the below decks that goes with it before it's really a meta crew.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think that it stands to reason that we're looking at this crew this month. We have never seen these types of strike teams, let's say strike teams in finger quotes. We've never seen these types of PvP sets released without eventually completing the set. So assuming that you're going to have a burning set and assuming that you're going to have a whole breach set, I do not believe is beyond the state of reasoning here. I think that's absolutely going to happen. And obviously we're seeing here that below deck, you'll have the opportunity to end up using 4 of the Qs, or 4 of these officers rather, when it comes down to a meta PvP crew. All right.
And Tarpy, I think you're joking when you say a minor set. Who says this isn't for a minor? You could totally put the Q squad on a minor.
It's true. And it is true, because only the captain's officer ability has anything to do with the target that you're hitting. Okay. Again, you look at Captain Q. Captain's maneuver is morale.
If you're a minor getting attacked by an interceptor, this is the perfect squad for you.
I mean,
It's called a landmine.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh,
all right.
boy. Okay, so the
French Q.
last of the squad, French Marshal Q. Now this one, we are looking at the officer ability, which is shot increase. And I have a little graphic if you wanted to put up the graphic as well. Now, the shots increase that we see here they're cumulative. So on each round start, for 3 rounds, you increase your shots. Now, what does that actually look like? Now, this is the same style of shot increase as we've seen from all of the strike teams, including from what I call the Assimilate strike team or the Mew crew. And these are just a chart of all the different crews. Now, yes, I know on an Explorer, I've used an Explorer as an example. Dukat and Lyon will not be effective because they're meant for interceptors and battleships, but again, it gives you a broad overview of what the actual shot increase per round. And French Q, even at tier 5, like, is not good. He's not better than Freeman. Yeah, and it depends too on the actual shots that your ship has. So, for instance, a tier 4 French Q, if you only have 1 shot per weapon, you actually won't see any increase at all. This was the same problem that we saw with Weyoun, that it actually mattered how many shots your weapon has. So if you, let's say, are IJ or anyone, Ops 70 player, and you have your Enterprise E, that only fires 1 shot in your first weapon, in your first round, which means French Q will do nothing for you until you're tier 5. And that's only because he rounds up.
Yeah. Roy Rogers says, are you saying that this officer is better suited for G5 ships than it would be G6?
It's all about ship's firing pattern. I'm trying to think. I mean, you can go into the link for this sheet. Did I provide it? Yeah, link for us if you want to explore this.
Link for what?
It's under French Q. It's a Google Doc link.
Dang it. Oh, yeah, here we go. Got it. There you go.
Okay.
Whoa, look at all that. There you go.
And then click over to Officer Effects, the bottom tab.
And putting a link to this in the graphics room.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Never mind.
Don't do that.
Gotcha.
Do not do that.
Okay,
So,
this is a worksheet and not a public display sheet. So I will screenshot a couple of things for you here, and
I think I
will
just
put those
added
in the graphics room.
Yeah, I think you're on. Are you on? I think I just sent you editing access. Are you on Talking Track right now?
No, but I'll move it over real quick. Yeah, let me fix that.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't. Okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, now I'm on the right one. So what we are looking at here on the officer effects, Jules, walk me through what we're seeing here, and I'm going to try to throw some screenshots into the graphics room. The time is 11:13 p.m. Eastern time, for those of you listening in podcast form.
So I've highlighted basically D21, that cell there. You can use that drop-down menu to select any number of ships. This is really any ship in the game. This was updated a little bit ago, so it doesn't have everything that's new. But
Obviously.
Go ahead and...
Fighting with a Mayflower. Obviously. Okay,
so with your Mayflower, yeah, exactly. With your Mayflower, you've got, you can see the firing pattern just below the Mayflower there, where you got 1 shot from weapon number 1, 1 shot with weapon number 2. Now, even with a tier 5 Kira, she's only 40%, so you can see just to the right the actual shot increase per round. Kira is giving you 0%. Tier 5 French Q, well, luckily he rounds up. But if we say, hey, what does it look like at tier 1? Waiting for it to load. You'll see that tier 1 French Q is going to do nothing for the Mayflower for the first round. And you'll barely see basically anything until you get further down into the run. But I'm going to keep them all tier 5 just because that way you can kind of provide a kind of head-to-head example between all the different strike teams. Oh, I don't know, pick another ship, maybe a Coronar, maybe some G4 ship that would be likely people would have.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Pylum. That seems to be everybody's big go-to.
Could be the Pylum, yeah. Pylum is a nice big ship. Everyone likes the Pylum, and hey, you may want to run this morale crew against other interceptors. Pylum versus Pylum action, why not? Yeah, so basically any crew we threw in there, you can see French Q just does not meet up to that. And then lastly, just for funsies, you can go all the way up to like Enterprise E or something.
There we go. Enterprise E. And look at all those single shots. Nice.
Yeah. So the G6 ships have a real hard time because they have all of those single shots. So there's not going to be a lot until you start maxing these crews out. Not going to see a lot of difference. Like a tier 4 French Q is going to give you no benefit in round 1, which is kind of sad. Very sad. Anyway, let's move off. Let's go back to his STFC.space card here because I wanted to actually talk about his below deck ability. And I have a little bonus thing for everybody here today. It's below deck ability. Round start, if a player has any state, he repairs 5%. Now, this crew, you would not use this on anything that you have a morale-based crew because morale is not going to make a state on somebody else. Maybe if you are attacking an explorer, hint for other crews that may be out there that may be coming. If you're attacking explorer, they may have morale. Or if you're using, I don't know, the Carol Freeman crew, this crew can be really effective. On round start, if the enemy player has any state, repairs 5% up to 20%. What other officer does that remind you of?
Hugh!
Pick Hugh, indeed. Now, Pick Hugh is an interesting officer because he doesn't care what the opponent is. This one has to be a player and has to have a state. But it's a below deck. You can use both. Where Rogers has the true question. What if, this is very situational, but what if I told you you can achieve 100% hull repair right now?
You can with the NX-01 God Mode trick.
But that's against hostiles.
That's right. Is there a way to do it in PvP?
Yes. God Mode in PvP is now achievable.
Oh.
Let me walk you through this.
Let's do it.
Let me walk you through. You have to have a tier 5 French Q. Not going to be cheap. You have to have a tier 5 Pick Q. So tier 5 French Q gives you 20%, requires PvP and some state. Tier 5 Pick Q, 35%, requires nothing. And then once you go into your game and look in your X-Borg favors.
Inside the faction store, you go down to your X-Borg tab, and what is it specifically that we are looking for?
Well, at this point, you can kind of look at any of the ship type PvP mending. Now, these are hyper-specific. They are PvP within a triangle's favor. So, for instance, you may have Explorer PvP mending, which means if you're fighting a player interceptor while on an Explorer, you can get up to 20%. So this is hyper-specific, but is a thing that's there. The other one that I wanted to point out is also hyper-specific, defensive repair stance. We all joke about this one, and I bet you probably don't have it maxed yet. But it is when defending on a capture mode. Oh, you do.
Get out of here with a capture node. Oh my goodness. You are not.
Yep.
No.
Yep. But this is the way to do it. If you are defending on a capture node, somebody hits you and you have the triangle's favor, and you just, at this point, like you're above deck, your bridge hasn't been decided yet. You just need something to enact a state on the other player. It doesn't really matter exactly what you could just have Giorgio up there, to be honest with you, and you could theoretically achieve 105% hull repair every round.
Fullman says, "Great, my Sarco is finally useful. Yay!"
You do have to survive the first round, though. So, probably not the Sarco.
Oh, man.
Probably not the Sarco.
Yeah.
Because if somebody comes at you with an interceptor, they're probably going to one-shot your Sarco.
That's true. And this also, as Jonathan Ingram accurately points out, you have to survive round 1. All right. You have to survive round 1 because this only restores the damage that you took in the previous round of combat. If you don't survive round 1, you don't make it to the point where this will actually restore any health.
Exactly. But the mini survive round 1, and as long as their preceding damage isn't greater than the round 1 damage, there is a high likelihood that you will continue to survive. So if it's a close-ish match, I would say you could survive forever. Next up, there is actually...
on a capture
okay,
node.
Okay, here we go. Here we are with the
Oh.
state of hull repair not on a capture node. This can be true in arenas. This does not have to be specifically on a capture node
Fair.
during a territory capture.
Okay.
Look at your offensive repair stance. Another one of the X-Borg favors is just a little bit below the PvP mendings. This is while attacking another player. If you're on the aggressive stance and you attack another player, this is a chance to repair 10%. Now, level 5 gives you 100%. So you currently will have 10% of that whole repair repaired, including the ship type PvP mending, including French Q, including PICU. You now have 85% whole repair.
This is floating in space. Again, taking into account the ship type specific, all right? But 85% hull repair from your previous round of combat using Tier 5 French Q, Tier 5 PICU, a level 5 PvP mending, where the PvP is in your triangle's favor, okay? Battleship PvP mending, Explorer PvP mending, whatever. And then offensive repair stance. Those 4 combine to give you an 85% chance. 85% chance. Jonathan Ingram also then points out the emergency protocols, which that is...
Are for hostiles.
Yeah, that's just hostiles, not PvP. All right, not PvP. But yeah, 85%. Yep. All right. Which,
and there's also
the
premium hostile. There's also the premium hostile combat hull repair as well, but that's also for hostiles only. So saw that in the chat as well, but just wanted to call out those just for hostiles.
Wham says check the math again. All right, Tier 5 French Q, 20%. Tier 5 PICU, 35%. Level 5 PvP mending is 20%. And offensive repair stance is 10%. That is 85%. There you go. Pew, pew, pew. All right, there you go. So that is inching ever closer to God mode with French Q. And this is, again, kind of expanding upon the God mode that you had with the NX-01 with PICU. Now you are starting to see some PvP potential, which is going to come from French Marshal Q. Obviously, it is incredibly situational, very, very niche, but is possible.
And I think that French Q is the one of the entire set that has the most ability to be useful outside of its set because of this PvP repair with any state. So he should be below your decks on any PvP ship regardless, because more than likely you're trying to enact a state on another player in, at least 66% of all of your crewing. So I think that this is a highly valuable officer. Now let's take that all into account. We've got this French Marshal Q, which as an officer gives you some shots. Not great. We have the Mariachi Q, which as an officer gives you Isolated Cascade. Very good. Then we have our Captain, Starfleet Q, which is the linchpin to put these all together and give you 100% morale, making sure that both of these officer abilities work, but has an officer ability that's incredibly situational. Maybe this is just providing you some Crewjitsu options, and if you're not going to spend to buy the rares this month, and we don't know what the acquisition path is going to be for the rares or even this epic, then maybe this set isn't important to you. Because remember, when the first strike team came out, they took a month off, then released Interceptor Strike Team, then took a month off, released Explorer Strike Team, and then it wasn't until months later that they actually provided a long-term sourcing path for all of the strike teams. If this is truly Strike Team 2.0, as Omicron is calling this, do we think that Scopely is going to do the same method, and that actually trying to acquire these officers either free to play or being able to slow drip your way up the tiers, is that going to be possible? Open question.
Oh, I mean, I'm not counting on it, and Scopely hasn't demonstrated that we should be able to count on that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know that is something that can be counted on. Omicron asked the next question: are they going to be relevant in 6 months? I mean, so far, Mirror Universe and Strike Teams and Carol Freeman, the introduction of Mirror Universe has actually introduced a little bit of Crewjitsu back into PvP, as in none of the Strike Teams have been fully replaced yet. And so I know that we've gone through some growing pains with that, but now that you've got a couple of different options there is, I don't want to say balance, but there is a triangle, so to speak, with that, where one can defeat the other. So when you're looking at this, I don't want to say that this is going to replace anything. I don't know that this will be replaced in 6 months. My bigger question is going to be, what does sourcing look like in 6 months? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is my bigger concern, is are we looking at a potential path at obtaining these officers? Because if you are currently not willing to drop money on the rare officer packs, then Commander Q really provides you no benefit whatsoever. All right. Just kind of coming back and dipping into the chat. You're right. It's no longer pew, pew, pew. It's Q, Q, Q. And we can now start referring to PvP crewing as Q-Jitsu. All right. That's right. Omicron says, yeah, it's pretty much 100% all or nothing. And that's kind of where I look at it. So I come back and I ask, is this month's singular SMS worth fighting over? I don't know. Do what you can. I wanted to do a little bit of progression because I am following the newly adopted Jules Verne method towards Op 66. So I did do a little bit of progression. I plan on stopping right here. I am not going to finish the milestone. I finished 3 of the milestones and got 30 shards. This is where the math fails for me, Jules. This I can't get out of my own way. I know it's 20 more shards, but it's double the cost for a 50% reduction in shards. Now, I know I'm just psyching myself out with that, but 24 million points got me 30 shards. So shouldn't another 24 million points get me another 30? Nope, just gets you 20. The problem is that even if you finish this SMS, you still only have 50, and we don't know where the rest of them are potentially coming from. And that's why I'm probably not chasing this real hard. I did 3 milestones for the sake of progression. That's probably it for me. All right. Therefore, this officer is sadly and unfortunately not something that I can consider worth chasing. All right. Just, yeah, that's right. That math ain't mathin'. Jules, if you were looking at this, and I guess your opinion is probably the same as mine. If you're not willing to spend on rare packs, then obtaining the epic probably serves no purpose. Is that right?
I think that is a general rule of thumb. I am going to probably buy the rares just because I think I see value in this. And I for being a light spender, for paying for progression as like my general rule of thumb, and for knowing how poorly or how long it took to get regular sourcing for the other strike teams, like I don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. This is clearly a FOMO purchase for me. I'm still not sure if I'm going to go ahead and buy the rares, but I did finish my SMS, and I'm hoping for some shards out of the SLB. And really, a lot of that is for the same reason that you decided to go into this, and it's just for progression.
Yeah.
Starby asks if I had $100, 1 pack of each. Yes. because, like I said, the crew is kind of useless without both of them together. So I think that if you want the whole Q crew, the Q squad, you have to get one of each, even if they're at rank 1. But I, do see more value in French Q for the below deck ability than I see in the other 2 Q squad members.
And DJ, I would like to say on the free to play side, like this is a pipe dream wrapped up inside of a no-win situation. Like there's no way, like you're gonna need all 3. You have no resourcing for the rares. I wouldn't. There are other PvP officers that you can get in the game that have actually decent sourcing now if you're looking for PvP officers.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree at all. To be honest with you, which is why I'm not putting in a great deal of effort here, Putz, because I don't plan on buying those officers. So, there's problems with this particular method of acquisition, but we shall see. And that's why I say some players out there are probably going to like what the remainder of the month looks like when it comes to officer sourcing, because, at least with regards to the rares, we know what that pattern is. So and Galeo says, I would have to assume that this is going to be very similar to the other sets that come. So you're looking at 3 months worth of officers that may not amount to anything unless they come out and introduce some method of sourcing for them. And who knows if that will actually happen or not. This, sadly, I kind of agree with Jules. I see the benefit of these officers if you can get them. That's the problem, though, is getting them, right? So
agreed.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too that Galio is pointing to here is if you're a player who goes up against a lot of interceptors, and maybe if you're flying an explorer, because there is a lot of natural born explorer versus interceptor in triangle benefits, then maybe this is the crew you want to shoot for. But if you're a battleship player and you're flying a battleship day in, day out, so I don't know, most G6, maybe you want to wait until you get the crew that's best to go on your battleship to go against explorers.
Yeah, I can see that being a thing too. Just like with the other strike team, you know that there's going to be a set that comes for you, so hang tight. Wait till you see what comes and go. Dragon Keeper says this crew can work on all ships, and yes, it does. But with respect to just Mariachi Q's officer ability, Captain Q's officer ability. It is specifically against an interceptor. And don't forget, that's a significant amount of apex barrier. So you can't say it doesn't matter. It does work against any other crew, but it works real good against interceptors. Okay? So there you go. Yeah, against them, Dragon Keeper. You're exactly right. Oh, okay, and it works on any ship as far as what you're
right.
On.
Like
yes,
you could put it on your interceptor. I think that in a lot of regards, there is a lot of buffs that are good within Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So, you may even see this and say, maybe they'll adjust this and make a more powerful crew set, and I want that for my every ship against a specific ship type. Maybe not.
Yeah. Wham says, once again, they're telling us to go slow mode on officers by using this model. I don't disagree. I don't support this model. I would, but again, they haven't been sourcing rares reliably all year, so I don't know. Anywho, Bad Wolf asked the question before we get ready to wrap up. Jules, do cubes fear interceptors due to the cube's firing pattern? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. Otter says this seems like it was meant to be something of a triangle buster put on a battleship to fight an interceptor, and I think that is a more useful, absolutely, Otter. That's where that can be. That's where these officers can be used. You wouldn't typically expect to put morale on a battleship, but if the officer abilities support that, then obviously that's something that you can do. So. All right. Any other final questions, comments for Jules Verne regarding PvP crewing? Jonathan Ingram is, what are you pointing out here? He does not like Mirror Universe Strike Team. Let's take a look at this screenshot he put up in the chat, Jules. And you had one or two also that you wanted to show off. Jonathan Ingram said, Jonathan Ingram, I don't know whether you're the right person to compare. You are just, I know it's another 70. I get that. All right. But you're looking, yours is a tier 12 compared to his tier 7. You are super well researched. You're like the pinnacle whale. All right. I know it's a retardant, but I'm just telling you, man, like you are, I don't know that you're the basis of comparison that we can use.
Yeah,
in PvP.
we were talking about God mode and PvP. It actually is Jonathan Ingram.
Yeah, that's
he is.
That's the
God mode and PvP.
That's the equivalent. Yeah, God mode and PvP is just C Ingram. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pull out this screenshot for you. Jules, you can narrate this and tell us what we're looking at here. And I will tell you that that I was able to obtain these from the test server. Jules, I don't remember what the parameters were that I gave you on this. I'm assuming that everything was reasonably elevated. I don't recall exactly what the parameters were. Do you have that sheet that I sent you?
I don't. I think I recall that these are unbuffed ships going against each other. And you can see just the Carol Freeman kind of as a control group versus a Carol Freeman group here as well.
All right. So
I don't have the battle log, so I don't know too much about what happened during these.
So here
yeah,
you've
exactly.
got,
Inspector saying it's Freeman's 50-50 whether you attack first or not. But I think that the next screenshot that I believe you have is a little bit more telling.
All right, let's take a look at this next screenshot, which were the same two accounts going up against each other. And if I'm not mistaken, in this particular screenshot, they were doing some testing with the new Q-Jitsu. And this kind of came in and just showed that you weren't quite as effective against Carol Freeman and company with this particular setup. Do we know what the tiers of these officers were?
Basically, I know. I think the Q's crew were all tier 2, and then the Carol Freeman crew on both ships was also tier 2. So I don't know if you can compare. I don't know what the HG Warf skills were, so it's hard to kind of compare those two tier for tier. But I think that this is pretty telling that at least first getting the crew itself may not be enough against what is currently the meta.
Yeah. And in this particular case, if I'm not mistaken, the Enterprise fired first in both of these tests. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I would have to go back and see if I can find that information.
Yeah, I think that was what was on it. For those of you who are curious about my vague reporting here, this is data that I took from the test server when it was up, but naturally I don't remember everything that I documented. This is when I was on the dev server and I was testing some of this stuff. So I was able to actually get some of this, and I sent all that data to Jules, but I don't remember all of it at this particular moment. So, but there you go. Yeah, I was able to get those when I was on the test server and do a little bit of play. And Wham says, well, no real surprise there. It's all about the shots. Thank you. Yeah, total shots are gonna do it. So there you go. That is the information that we have currently on the Q Continuum Interceptor Retaliation Squad. There they are right there. So you can determine for yourself. You still have 12 hours as of the time of this moment on taping to determine whether or not you're going to finish that solo milestone and even potentially push for the solo leaderboard. Other than that, there are no other guaranteed ways to acquire this officer at this particular time in the calendar. More information will be shared as it becomes available. Herb says, throw those into the graphics room. You absolutely got it. I'll put them in the graphics room. The time is 11:40 p.m. Eastern time, where we are looking at and comparing these two crews from my testing on the development server prior to the launch of this arc. And again, just as a reminder, we're using pretty much all tier 2 officers across the board. Okay. All right. Couple of reminders. This week we are starting to really ramp up as we prepare for the Thanksgiving holiday here in just about 2 weeks. Getting ready, please. Have you guys checked out with your employers on your your week of giving, your day of giving, et cetera, when it comes to the Christmas Angel Fund? Because I do want to remind you that time is growing short, but we do have a lot more content to bring you. As a matter of fact, Griffin and I and Putz are heading back to Nashville here very soon to talk to some patients, play some games. I have been told... I am fortunate in this, Jules. I have been told that Mario Kart was the game that was selected. So I actually have a shot against some of these kids when we go up and we're going to be playing.
Great.
Yeah, I've got a shot at dealing a soul-crushing defeat to some of these patients. But chances are they're still going to end up beating me. But for those of you who are not knowing what's going on, our fundraiser for the Christmas Angel Fund, the Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt Medical in Nashville, Tennessee are the recipients of this year's funding for the Christmas Angel Fund. We are out again. Last year, you guys funded enough floors for every child in the hospital to get a gift around the holiday season, which is just absolutely flooring to me. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. This year, we are starting off already one floor to go. One floor done. We have 12 floors to go. So we still have some time, and we're still pacing ahead of what we did last year, Jules, because we started earlier, but we've started a little slower. We still have roughly $4,000 to finish the second floor, and then still many other floors to go. But we're headed that way to talk to some patients and get some content and speak to some physicians and hospital administrators while we're there. That is coming up here very soon, and we'll be glad to bring you some of that content back and continue our fundraising efforts for the Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital. Dragon Keeper says, I thought you started late this year. No, actually, I'm pretty sure last year we didn't start until around now. So yeah, we're going to be working on that. Actually, it might have even been later. I think, wasn't it near Thanksgiving time before we actually started? So that is going to be happening here very soon. Also, I have to make a quick appeal to those of you hanging out in the Discord. If you're in the Twitch chat, !Discord, to link on over into our Discord. This is a problem that only rolls around one time a year, but we are short on our Discord Nitro boosters. So this is what happens every year, because it's a year-long membership, and every year certain people will let that kind of fall off, because Nitro boosting is kind of a weird thing in Discord. But if you happen to have a Nitro boost, I would ask you to consider boosting our server. It does allow for the transfer of much larger files, better image files, more emotes, and all the things that we're able to do inside our server. It allows for extra file size on the upload, more people on the stage. And Hani says, I've been a Nitro booster for 4 years, and it's totally worth it. And I agree. I also am a Nitro booster. But we've got to maintain, I think, something like 15 to get it done. So I would ask for any of you guys who have an extra Nitro boost, please consider providing it to our Discord. We have this issue once a year where we got to go in and grab one, and I appreciate you guys for considering that. Thank you so very much. It doesn't do anything for monetization or anything like that. It just provides the community with additional benefits in the Discord. So before anybody thinks that I'm looking for another way to to monetize stuff, just know that it's for the betterment of the community. I get nothing off of a Discord Nitro. So Tarpy says you should get them custom 3D printed Mario Kart wheels. Where on earth am I going to make custom Mario Kart steering wheels in like a week and a half?
DJ, yeah. I mean, if we would have known this about a month ago,
I didn't know a month ago. They told me earlier this week.
They take about 9 hours to print, and that's something that my school would have definitely donated.
Oh, well, that's cool. Maybe we could do it anyway. Maybe we can do them anyway, and we'll just take them up there closer to the holiday season. Yeah, we can still do it. It just won't be ready for our tournament. But, I mean, I'm sure they're going to have other tournaments. That would be cool, right?
Yeah, I will get on that.
Ooh, funsies. All right. Yeah, Dave Stro says, let me just ask my 3D printer guy. I'm good with that. Andy says, DJs, you should be close to getting the NSEA skin. Am I? I don't know. Are you guys pulling it every single day? Let's see where we are in relation to the NSEA skin, which if you guys want to take a quick peek at my screen, I'm going to have to repair a ship before I can get in there since I got raided earlier today. Jonathan Ingram, how much resource did you get off of me? You know what? Maybe we can use that as we are exiting the channel today. Because he finally...
How long of a video?
Yeah, he finally got me. Let's see. Raid... Oh, I typed it wrong. Raid DJs. YouTube. Here it is. Oh, he's up to 160 followers. And look here. The name of the video is DJs Gets Raided for the First Time in Forever. And that is dated today, November the 10th, 2024. As a matter of fact, we'll watch that on our way out. Let me take a quick peek at the NSEA skin and see where we are at here so far. Unlock more. Let's see. Taking a quick peek. Here we go. I am at 96 out of 120. 96 out of 120. Jules Verne's at 110 out of 120. Madrox at 111. And, of course, I do remind you there's a little bit of RNG here. A little bit, because you can get extra bonus shards. But I am at 96 out of 120. Ginmon at 69 out of 120. Loki says, you paid for 2 upgrades for me today, DJs. Sorry, not sorry. Strider says, of course you got rated. Obviously, listen, it's been a minute. Okay, give me a little bit of a break here. The last time he rated me was 2 months ago. All right, just saying. You guys want to take a look at this, and we'll watch it on our way out. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh. Oh, this is great. Thank you guys all so very much for being here.
Woke up this morning, face are set to stun.
Oh, my goodness.
My base is in ruins, all my work undone. Spaceships are burning, stars don't shine bright.
What do you call this
Ingram came
genre?
out of nowhere in the dead of night. Warp speed to nowhere, shields are all gone. I'm
Happy?
stranded in the galaxy. What went wrong?
192 billion
Can't
scoops.
fix this. I'm losing control. My face is in pieces, taking its toll.
That's
Wow.
a big scoop.
It's fantastic right there. That's so good.
Raid pop.
Raid pop. That's what we're calling it. Yeah. Q pop.
Can't heal. Bananas calling. My defense is overrun.
They couldn't reload. I was in territory, Night Diver.
Sounds like a promo for a TV show.
I know, right? That's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like the opening for a sitcom, right? That's what it sounds like. So, yeah, there you go. Well, fantastic. Thank you for the new content there, Jonathan. I would imagine that you've been getting a little bit of pressure because, it's only been 2 months since you released any content. Sorry to deprive your viewers of such enjoyment. Yeah, I love you too, dude. Oh, by the way, how much did you guys get? If I'm looking at my account, I was looking at this earlier, Jules, trying to figure it out. If I'm just going off memory, I'm pretty sure they got close to 10 trillion resources. Jonathan? 10?
You had over 100 trillion less than a week ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah, but I've been spending, since you told me about the G6 stuff, I've been redeeming it for Sigma.
Okay,
I've
lucky you.
Yeah, no, I've been exchanging it for Sigma. Yeah, so I think I had like 45 something today. I'm not entirely sure. He says it was 25 minutes. Well, you guys do that math. 25 minutes at 180 billion scoops, although Doss says that was around 50 trillion. Yeah, but no, they had to impulse because I was in territory. It might have been more than 10 trillion. I honestly don't know. All right.
Yeah, I would say conservatively, you could say 15 trillion.
Oh, well, that's good. 15 trillion. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
But in all honesty, that's less than 5 days of Monaveen polls.
Yeah. You know what? See, there you go. I'm shooting for mastery. Then I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Which just means Jonathan Ingram next week, do it again.
Jonathan Ingram is he's going to buy mastery for me, just like he bought me the Monaveen skin. I bet he would come in and let me instant buy Monaveen mastery. You know, Jonathan, just saying. All right. Oh my goodness gracious! All right, that's it. We're going to go. I would like to point out to everybody and thank them all for listening to the show today. I want to invite you guys to visit our website at TalkingTrekSTFC.com, TalkingTrekSTFC.com, where you are going to find links to our YouTube. You'll find links to our merch store, the brand new Studio B stuff that we've got going on. I will remind you that in the Patreon, we do have brand new levels for Studio B. For those of you who haven't had a chance to check that out, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Jules, did you get a chance to listen in at any of Studio B last night? You know who did? I tell you, Jules, Echo watched last night. He said that he was working on events while listening to me bebop around, is what he said. Bebop.
Oh, that sounds like a very Echo thing to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Galileo says, seriously, check out Studio B. It's a lot of fun. And you guys can check out those replays either live on Saturday nights, or you can check out the replay over on Patreon, where the video and audio versions are both up and running. You guys can go check that out at Patreon with a brand spanking new level just for the playbacks of Studio B. In the meantime, I'd like to thank all of those players who do contribute to our Patreon. And at the level of $10 or more, they get their names read at the end of every show. So I'd like to say thank you to those guys now. Thank you, Lord Neelix, Lady Kess, Iron Chef, Virtual Army, Beckrack, Regis, Shady Pines, Lobot, Tigora, Cruzito, Ransusi, Hank, Ape, DJ Gur, MC101, Late Bull, Louis P, Grog, Archangel, Smoke Mohawk, Jet Ski, Papa Smurf, Jason, Captain Jack, Vinium, Scorpionus, Archer, and Hani, and Dominus, Casey Jones, K9, Tooth, Sertail, A-Fox, Judge Krent, G-Force, Bamenkus, Captain Q, Game Jr., Admiral Inwater, Cha-Cha Roar, Scarlet Hawk, DJ's got raided again. Ironic. Jaga, Never Full Tilly, Blue Mandalorian, Noxus, Exhibitor, Furmax, Dr. Link, Clueless One, Welch, Gunner, Unimatrix, Gornography Addict, Web, Balabomb, Medic 213, J-Babes, Dark Knight, Pixelate, Buddy, Spectre, Yukai, Nico, Diva Dorsal, McLovin, Griffin, Mean Bean, Thomas, Matters, Shannara, and Alicia. DJs better refine more ISO, Sweet and Psycho, Tom Collins, Check Game Jr., Iron Fister, and our brand newest Django. Thank you guys for joining our Patreon, available at TalkingTrekSTFC.com. Thank you for supporting Talking Trek, a registered trademark and recorded in front of a live studio audience for distribution across podcast platforms everywhere. I am your friendly neighborhood cat person, Ultimate DJ Sam Yow. For now, love you, mean it. We'll catch you on the next one. Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful remainder of your weekend. Oh, and have fun in arenas that's starting in like 5 minutes.
All my work done. Spaceships are burning, stars don't shine bright. Ingram came out of nowhere in the dead of night. Warp speed to nowhere, shields are all gone. I'm stranded in the galaxy. What went wrong? Scotty can't fix this. I'm losing control. My face is in pieces, taking its toll. has only just begun.